Hey guys, how's it going? It's Jackie Felix here. Today we'll be going through the part 3 of the complete guide to Wizard. This video will be more of a podcast format where I might get speakers to come and talk about the various 1v1 matchups for Wizard and their certain playstyles, what you should look out for, and to try to get the edge in some of these matchups. So yeah, in total there'll be 3 guest speakers. So firstly, we'll have Grief by RNG and Rugenex talk about their various 1v1 matchups. And after that discussion, I'll also have a talk with Ogma in relation to his thoughts on all the 1v1 matchups too. And something special in the end as well. And the reason why I invited guest speakers is because I feel like these people are a lot more knowledgeable and skilled in terms of the 1v1 matchups. And yeah, they definitely have a lot of knowledge and experience, and they've put in hundreds of hours trying to master these matchups. So it's a pleasure for me to have these people on the podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy. And yeah, in the background right now, you can see I'm working on a complete document to kind of go along with the guides as well. So this document is a relatively big document, as you can see. It's already 40 pages long, and I have yet to add in all the images and all the video links and all that stuff. So I expect this document to be anywhere between like at least 50 or 60 pages long. And this document will kind of also go through everything we discuss here, but in kind of more depth and detail. So hopefully I'll have that ready for you guys later this weekend. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Get started, we can start talking about Zerka. Like, what do you guys think about the Wizard versus Zerka matchup?
You want me to go first?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
All right. So, in my opinion, Zerker is one of the easier matchups for Wizard as you get more skilled with manipulating your teleports and managing your pet. A lot of Zerker's movement and self-buffing is unprotected, so as long as you keep up your ranged pressure and avoid getting gap closed, you'll do great.
Yeah, so what's the typical gap you want to keep like with a Zerka, like distance wise?
Their lava piercer where they run at you and have that orange
Yep,
glow,
yep,
and their rocket jump where they can use one or two.
yep.
Those are the two main ones you have to look out for.
Yeah, and the rocket jump is kind of the range of your single teleport, right? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
No, they
Okay.
can double jump though, which then you'd have to expend double teleport. But I wouldn't run face in, head first to them, because typically when they run away, they're typically low health, and that means they're gonna heal, and some of their heals do have some CC. So I definitely look, observe like their habits first. Typically, for Zerkers, we'll talk about like their protected skills, and they only have like very few. So the first one is Lava Piercer, which is when they run towards you. There's super armor, and you can counter that easily by either slowing them or teleporting out of it and teleporting back. Another protected skill that they have is when they punch the ground, which is Devastation. It's very slow. It doesn't deal any CC, and the last one is gonna be for Slugfist, I think. Slugfest.
Oh yeah.
And that is also not like protected. It's super armor. However, it doesn't have any CC, so you
So
can literally just walk up to them. Do
yes.
know though that they can cancel out of these skills at any time. And most Zerkers are predictable because their main engage is really just grabs.
Yeah.
They're only ranged when they're Q buffed, and in duels, typically they would try to engage with with melee attack.
Yeah. So
You
like
have to
yeah, go
watch
Rudix, yeah.
out for shooting mobility and their crouch shot. When they dash to the side and shoot a cannon shot, that's a
That's
stiffen,
Stiffen.
and also the crouch shot is a knockdown, but both of them are unprotected, and you can easily see it coming.
Yeah, yeah. So if say Zerka is doing the ranged CC ability on you, you have more than enough time to kind of throw out a water sphere and try to do a can shift space or SC teleport, right? To
Probably a freeze. I don't think a water sphere is fast enough.
oh yeah,
but most of the time they won't even challenge you to range because they know you just have like you're just a better range class.
Yeah.
At least most Zerkers that I fight, even really careful and skilled ones, they tend to lean more towards like the melee.
Yeah.
They do that just to bait it out. But you have a few counter plays against Zerker. I mean, the very first one is you just bait into a like say a meteor, and they know your meteor is a slow skill. So typically, what they do is they run towards you with a lava piercer into a grab, right? Brain dead play.
Yeah.
In this kind of like situation, you can teleport back to place with mouse movement and counter grab because it's an you iframe their grab and then go back to place into grabbing them, and you can combo them from there.
Yeah.
Another thing to know as well is if you do not have a grab, and if you think you're going to get comboed, if you're in awaken mode, you can always cast a pet, because this is true for most classes, and Zerker is not an exception for this, where once they grabbed you, once that you have, you're on the ground, in a 1v1, they typically cast unprotected skills while you're down because these skills tend to do more damage. And Zerker is not an exception for that. They like using Frenzy Destroyer, which is unprotected, which means once they grab you and they use Frenzy Destroyer, and if you happen to have the water pet out, more than likely you're gonna get a Stiffen in and you stand up and then you grab them.
So you would use the water pet over the fire pet for this matchup, Grief, or?
I would use the water pet all the time.
Okay.
I would only use the fire one just to mix it up a little bit if the enemy's kind of like used to the.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Is there? You have anything else to say? Anything else to add, Bridgings, or?
Um, I personally use the fire pet just because I play around my pet rather than relying on the pet to play around me.
Yep.
So like I'll move the Zerker in between me and the fire pet, and since the fire pet shoots it faster, I have more control over that rather than waiting for the water pet to cast, and in that time they could cast a super armor. Just it's
Okay.
a personal preference though.
Yep. Yeah.
It really is, and you can adjust from there.
Yeah. It's a playstyle
But
preference.
yeah, you can use that clip that I showed you, dude, that I sent you for the Zerker.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I'll look at getting some clips for the guide together, making the guide. Yeah. Okay. So is that it about Zerko? I think we've covered through most of what we want to talk about Zerko.
Well, if they Q buff, get the fuck away. Just
Yeah.
teleport out. Don't even.
Well, if they Q buff, you can challenge it by just PAing, right? Like.
Nah, I still wouldn't, because they can keep you on the ground for 30 seconds with unlimited down smashes, right?
Just use the bug.
Yeah, you can do that. I won't use it, but you can.
Dude, what do you mean? You sage PA in a 1v1 duel? Come on. Like.
Bro, that's just to BMU, man.
Bro,
That's what
like
you do.
fucking Alphonse did
You
it to me.
E-buff, you PA.
It's so tilting when you do a perfect teleport grab and then just sage PA. Fuck. Yeah, okay. Anyways, do you guys want to move on to next class, which is Ranger, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to start off, Rinjings?
Yeah. So in my experience, the two main things Rangers do are linger their SAs and use two specific range skills to knock you down or stun you. I don't know the names of the skills, but they have relatively long cooldowns with which you can pressure with your own range damage, but you have to watch out for their animations.
Yeah, so what, like, can you kind of like describe the two animations you should look out for real quick, or?
The first one, which is their Q cancel, they kind of move to one side and they'll shoot a really fast arrow that explodes, and that's a KD. The other one, I don't know what it looks like, but it stuns.
Yep. Okay.
And they'll try to catch you in gaps with that.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about like Rangers awaken and unawaken kit and like the differences and the what do you need to watch out for, like especially in their awaken kit. I feel like they have a lot of like iframes, and all that stuff. and they have a lot of safe gap closes. So I don't know if Griefed or Rujinx want to talk about this.
Yeah, they do have a lot of that, and there are some things that Rangers can do that can be done in game that I think is not described within the skill. But Rangers typically can pretty much do their tumble like animation and be just in either iframe or super armor forever.
Yeah.
Okay, and this depends on who you're fighting and the skill level of the person you are fighting. I find it that most people or most rangers that are really skilled in 1v1s, when they play wizards, they play the matchup where they don't even challenge you on range because they have openings, and you do have a range skills that are relatively faster compared to what they have. So what they do is they just super armor and iframe towards you and work for a grab. And
So,
most of
okay.
these rangers that do this are very patient. And typically, what you would want to do for in this instance is there's a few things. So again, you can go back to the concept that most classes they deal they use unprotected skills when you're grabbed, when you're knocked down, because it deals more damage. So Ranger, you can do that as well, which means just before you get grabbed, you can use only, again, this only works if you have the water pet. You can cast your water pet just as you got grabbed, and you pretty much, catch them stiffen, you stand up, and then you grab them instead.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do is just annoy the fuck out of them, in which you can slow. As I mentioned, they do have movement that is protected, but it's super armor if it's not iframe. And one way to know if they're in super armor or if in iframe is if you lock your crosshair to them and your crosshair doesn't show red, that means they are on iframe. However, if they move and your crosshair is locked to them and it shows red, that means you can cast your slow and it will get them.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So just the 2 points I want to quickly talk about is firstly their side dash. So they can spam the skill off cooldown. Is that correct? Or
No. Well, they can spam it. It's not protected when they spam it.
oh, okay.
And I don't think it does a CC either.
Oh, right.
Are you
Okay.
talking about the tumble? That
Yeah.
Grief
Well,
was...
because Grief said they can be in permanent iframe, and I
They
just
can.
want.
There are people who do it, dude.
From my understanding of Ranger, as someone explained it to me, was that tumble off cooldown, well, like when it's up, is an iframe, but there is a bug that lets them do it a second time right after that is also an iframe.
Oh,
Other
okay.
than that,
Nah, it's we talk about everything. So this is good.
Okay.
it's not protected, so you'll only see them do it twice, and some of them linger it longer to get their cooldowns up in Awakening.
Oh, so you can linger that iframe. Is when you linger it, is that still
can.
linger? It's lingered iframe.
It's lingering iframe, and it's pretty much it's similar to an exploit, right? Pretty much
Okay.
FG exploit.
Let's just call it a
But
bug,
it's
Griefed.
around there.
Which,
I mean, that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to word it as lightly as I could, which is
Yeah.
they can do things that are not in the skill description, but they can,
yeah.
which is that
But
iframe thing. So
definitely-
they can remain iframe or super armor.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like Ranger's one of those classes that has a lot of bugs with it, where like the really good Rangers know like all the different bugs. Like.
Oh, for sure. And one thing you gotta keep in mind though is that most of the rangers that do this, I mean, regardless of what they do, right? If they stay on iframe forever, that's fine. Their iframe is not an attack though, so they still have to engage on you with some sort of attack, which is more than likely unprotected one way or another.
Yeah.
That's why I find like the bait to just get knocked down and then let your pet get them is kind of like the way I fight more skilled rangers. And this is up to your discretion as well. If you know that someone is using exploits or using bugs, like things that are not supposed to be done in the game, that's not in skill description or character description, but they can somehow, you're free to use your FG bug as well. In this case, you can just stay in pseudo super armor while casting range pokes, and they can't do anything about it. And when they get close, you just teleport out and do it over and over again
Okay.
up until you catch them.
Yeah. All right. So I kind of just want to go over the Ranger's grab. It's like a really fast grab, and I don't know if you guys want to talk about like if there's much to talk about the Ranger's grab, because I feel like it's one of the fastest grabs out there. It's protected as well, isn't
And
it? Like,
it's one of the longer CCs as well, because it's the grab and then it's I believe it's a K.
oh, okay, because they grab you and then they like flip you. Like,
Yeah, so unlike Wizard's grab, which is a bound, Ranger's grab I believe is a knockdown, so they can keep you on the
really?
ground forever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Damn. See,
Yep,
I
and
didn't.
then
Well,
down
that's
smash you and do it over and over.
didn't know that. Okay. Right, that's interesting. And let's talk about Ranger's extended combo. They can keep you infinitely CC'd, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Depending on their luck, yeah. But it's more reliable than most other classes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And I also have seen Rangers where they play with their ping. I don't know exactly how, but it is manipulating their ping to be slightly higher than what it typically is. And they can pretty much chain CC you forever.
Yeah, I've seen
Or they
that
can
happen
start with
before.
a yep.
Yeah.
And this is without down smashes too. They can do
Okay.
3 CCs, similar to like how Zerkers can sometimes do 3 CCs.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Is there anything else we want to cover about Ranger before we go on to the next class, or
No, I think we're good.
good? All right. I'm really happy with that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll give
So,
anyone a pass due to use the CC bug, the forward guard bug
oh yeah,
against a ranger that uses that exploit too. I would have.
yeah. Okay. All right. So the next class we talk about is Sorceress. All right. I feel like both of you have a lot of knowledge in this class, so yeah, feel free to talk about this class in terms of 1v1 matchup.
You
Go to
got
the
it,
back.
Greed.
You go first, dude. I'll be back.
Alright.
Alright.
Sorceress is one of the more play style oriented classes, whereas one Sorc will play completely different from another. But your main goal is mostly to mitigate as much damage that you are taking while pressuring their resources, whether that's their frontal guard or their stamina when they're iframing.
Yeah.
So, in my experience, the best way to do this without tilting them off the face of the planet is rotating your super armors properly and turning it with mouse movement to avoid getting back attacked, and also putting down debuffs that magic DP debuffs on them, like your red orb and also lava field, and just playing in them.
Yeah, I found that. I don't know about you, Grief, but I found that if you place down like a lava field and you stand in it, the Sorc actually takes a decent amount of damage. And I don't know if it affects their iframes at all or anything, but
Oh, it'll still tick. Like they'll still get hit by it.
yeah,
But yeah, like as long as you know how to rotate. I'd say if a Sorc is about average, so about above average skill level, you can super armor forever, and you're bound to get a kill on them. This is again like on that skill level though. However, if you're fighting against really skilled Sorcs, which let's be honest here, Sorc I believe in like at least in my opinion has a higher skill ceiling compared to Wizard, and if they know Wizards well, I've seen my super armor skills not land a single hit. Cataclysm, they
yeah,
iframe that. Water Sphere, I mean, like the Aqua Gel, they get some hits because of the mouse to move. However, they don't pretty much take all that much damage, and you just get chunked. And this is despite like the fact not taking any back attacks or anything. So I think one counterplay for Sorcs for me is gonna be first off, I think using the pet on Sorcs most of the time is kind of useless. It's really hard to get a Stiffen on them since you can't even right click them or use the skill because they're typically on iframe,
I-
right?
Yeah, or just about pet stiffens quickly. I felt like if you played against orcs who don't know your pet that well, you can catch them quite consistently with your water pet, especially. Like,
I think the risk level. I mean, it can definitely work. The risk level is high. I use it, but again, I just like playing more
but
aggressive.
yeah, definitely against skilled orcs. You know, it's very next to impossible to hit it, and when you're doing the animation with pet stiffen, you're unprotected as well. So
Yep. And one thing to know about Sorxo is that they have a lot of unprotected stuff. Most of the time, when they're not in iframe, most of the time they're unprotected. But again, this is where the skill difference comes in play. One thing that I like doing against Sorks is mouse to moving my bolide, which is our longest super armor, like
yeah, in
super armor
terms,
linger.
yeah, lingering.
And
Yeah,
what I like doing is, again, Sorks have this kind of like rhythm where they go to iframe, do one skill, go to iframe, do another skill. And what I like doing is once you figure out that rhythm, I just bolide and let it linger. And when I know or guess kind of like where they're gonna pop out and start to do an attack, I grab from there.
yeah.
And this sometimes works. It is risky, but hey, if you're playing to win, then sometimes you got to do this.
Yeah, let's talk
But if
about
you're
that.
playing to,
Yeah,
yeah,
about the grabbing sorks, dude. Like, is there a mechanic or art to grabbing a sork, and when to do it, when not to do it? I know. Yeah.
if you know their CC, fast CC skills, which is their iframe and then into their shift F. I forgot what the name of the skill is, but there's like a wall of like purple magic that's in front of them. That's a float.
Yeah.
And then their one of their Raboms as well. No, actually, I think both of their Raboms are floats as well.
Only
and
one
once you
is.
only one is,
Yeah,
right? Okay. I think the other one's just an air smash, right?
I'm not sure on that one.
Let me go to my trial sort. But what you can do is if you kind of have a feeling that those skills are on cooldown, then you can always
Yeah. All right.
I think I sent you a clip of that as well
Yep.
against sorts.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll check that out. All right.
Oh,
So.
and also one more thing.
Yep.
This is the best, I think, the best counterplay to Sork. Once it's just that it has a really long cooldown. One thing you can do is build a combo from the Earthquake Stiffen. Okay, so Earthquake is a super armor. Sork does not have a grab, and as I mentioned, Sorks typically pop out of iframe and use an unprotected skill.
Yeah.
And if you happen to catch them with the Earthquake Stiffen, you can just do a combo from that. Typically with the float from what is that? Earth's response.
Yeah. Earth response. Yeah.
And most of the time, this is how I get scores, like score out some kills in duels against Sorks. I'd say like 70% of the time that's how I catch them.
Okay. Cool. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Also, when I was fighting Cobain, I never caught him once with earthquake. It's like,
Yep.
but
Most people, like, if they know what they're doing, they just stay the fuck back. Or if they know that you're an earthquake, they pop out, but they use like either FG or super armors.
but the thing is, after you use earthquake, you're kind of forced to teleport, right? Like,
Not
if
really.
the Sork is around you, I mean, like it's really dangerous doing the F frontal guard swap. I feel.
No, not really.
I
So
would do a
one thing
pet
that
summon.
a pet
Oh yeah,
summon.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah, true.
exactly. The pet
Yeah.
summon is a super armor, and since you're not really ever gonna use your pet Stiffen anyways, you might as well desummon or summon the other pet, right?
Yeah. So with the pet summon, is it even when you're desummoning, that's a super armor as well? Or?
Yes.
That is a super armor.
Okay,
Yes, both of them
cool.
are super armors.
Yeah. Okay. Also, Ridgings, also when you were fighting Cobain, you said something about being able to rotate between super armors and frontal guards, and I just want to ask how you would do that safely against the Sork.
like Grief said earlier, a lot of fighting a Sork is figuring out their own personal rhythm. Once you fight them after, like, for a while, you'll notice they have certain patterns in their attacks. And when I see a Sork use their Shift Zero Bomb, which is only super armor, I tend to
Okay.
block that because it just does damage and no CC.
Yeah.
So it's less risky if they hit you with it.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Let's quickly talk about the Sork's ranged abilities, like which is just Dream of Doom and that scythe thing they throw out real quick. And so Dream of Doom off cooldown, it's an instant cast, right? Or
No. So there's a few things you can do with Dream of Doom. The way Dream of Doom works is there's only one cooldown. However, they have a skill where they can instantly cancel Dream of Doom to do a quick cast, but instead of a KD, it does a Stiffen. Now,
okay.
this might not sound as good, but experienced Sorks can close that gap hella fast and land a Stiffen or like a float after that Stiffen. So in my opinion, I personally, against a more skilled Sork, I wouldn't challenge that. I won't try to outrange them with that. Although it is an opening, just like
Yeah.
it's unprotected.
But without that animation cancel, Dream of Doom takes a very long time to cast, right? But the skill does do a lot of damage.
Yep.
Yeah. And what, Ridgings, do you want to talk about the little blades that they throw out real quick?
Yeah, so in Awakening, Sorks can throw out Blades of Darkness, which are basically summons, and they have a way to command them to knock you back.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like our Pet Stiff. So when they
It consumes
do when they do an iframe in Awakening, it's insta-cast. But if they just stand still and cast it, it's an opening, but most Sorks don't do it that way.
Yeah.
But when they choose to throw it at you, it's really fast and hits from where the blade is, from my understanding.
Yes, it does. So they can position Blade of Darkness behind you, and then iframe to the other side, or at least force that fight. And then they pretty much can press, I think, Shift Space, if I'm not mistaken, and then it's a knockback. This is why, I mean, not just that one reason, right? Just the fact that Sorks can also pop out behind you at any time. You would want to avoid frontal guards as much as you can.
Hmm. Oh, sorry, just one more thing. Let's talk about Nightmare real quick. Describe this ability, what it does, what to look out for.
Nightmare. What is
So that's the
Nightmare?
one where they go invisible and they jump out at you, you know?
Oh,
Nightmare? Is that right, Droochings?
Oh yeah. It is Nightmare.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like I think SF. I think.
Yeah.
Let me try. Yeah, it is. Yep, it is.
So
While they're in here, just so you know, they are in a kind of iframe. You really can't hit them. They may or may not show up on your mini map. And really, for this, what I do is I would just linger a super armor, and that's it.
Can they choose
their
when they
suit-
come out of Nightmare?
Yes.
Yes, they can choose whenever they want to come out of Nightmare, and they can choose to extend it to go to another one again.
Okay.
They typically do this if they're low. So the only reason a Sork would use Nightmare is to get away from you, or if they're low, right? Which means they made a mistake. And most of the time, that means they're going to get the fuck away from you. And from there, I wouldn't really expend your teleport. Just linger your super armor, be patient, and when they come out, then you can plan your next move.
Okay, cool. All right, that's I think we've covered most of the stuff about Sork. Any last words about Sork before we move on, or
Nerf Sork? When?
yeah? All right, we're all good, Ridgings.
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, let's go on next. Talk about Warrior, and this is probably, if not the most the hardest matchup for Wizard, if not second hardest. And yeah, so either Bridgings or Grief want to start off talking about Warrior and what it
You got
does,
it,
what to
Grief.
look out for. Yeah.
I can. So warrior is one of those classes that are really strong in 1v1. However, once you fight the class enough, you start seeing certain skills that they use to engage on you. And they do have some sort of protection for engages. And they also have a range stiffen, which they can easily follow up with. And
So that's when
just
they
to let you
throw
know,
the spear out, right?
that's when they throw the spear. Yes.
Yep.
Do know though that most of warriors' protected movement to close gap is either unprotected. Oh, it's either unprotected, or if it is protected, it's super armor. So you can exploit this by pretty much using your shift Q. You know when they jump and then they throw their sword at you to close
Yeah.
the gap. That's super
Okay.
armor. In there, like you can typically slow them, and warriors don't necessarily have that big of a burst damage, right? They can combo you easily. However, if you slow them, there's a chance that they may not be able to, and you just get up and grab them instead.
Yeah.
So landing that shift Q is vital. Another thing that you can do is warriors typically tend to close the gap, either do that quick stiffen that they have, which is I think shield bash, or try to grab. And in this case, one thing you can do is you can mouse to move your teleport, which is teleport to place. And I find this to be effective against even really pretty decent warriors.
Yeah. Okay. And so using your pet stiffen against warrior, would you recommend kind of when they try and engage you, kind of backpedaling and try to get your pet behind their frontal guard, or
Okay, one thing to know about their frontal guard, I wouldn't even try to do that pet stiffen where you put them in between. It's because their block is super armor as well, which means even if your pet stiffens them from the back, it's not gonna work because they're in
yeah,
super
no, I
armor.
mean like I know their block is frontal guard super armor, so they're protected everywhere. But I mean like let's say the warrior's like engaging you though, like
I think this is where we will probably differ. I like to play aggressive against warriors. I like that feeling of like pushing back a warrior
okay.
as a wizard. And what I like doing is I like expending my teleport first. What I
Against the
like to do
warrior?
though is before I do that, against a warrior, dude.
Wow.
Yep. What I like
That's
doing
alpha as
is,
fuck.
I mean, it is unfortunate, right, that my VODs got deleted, but I do have like a video, a VOD of me and Darren fighting for maybe like a good half an hour,
Yep.
and I was pushing him back. I was aggressive as fuck. And
Nice.
what I typically like doing is precast the pet. Again, this will only work if you have like the water pet because there's a longer delay between when you cast it and when the stiffen actually happens. But from there, I do one of two things. So, one is to either close the gap between the two of us and grab him first. And you can typically do this by using measured teleports. So, measured teleports are when you mouse to move, not necessarily back to place, but just slightly short of the range of what a teleport is. And typically, the reason why this works is because experienced warriors know the teleport distance, and you would like to make them think that they're safe.
Yeah.
From that distance, right? Because like if you teleport in, they'll see that they're you're kind of teleport behind them and they go, oh, I can react to that. But if you mouse to move it and land directly right next to them, you can catch them with this quite easy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yep, alright.
And
So
even if you were to fuck up, right? Like you have your pet stiffen, just another layer of engage.
yeah, so is it whereas combos, most of it is unprotected?
I think a few skills are protected, but I think the first half of it, most of the time, is unprotected.
Yeah, at
because they
the
like
end
debuff
though,
you.
at the end when they do that slash and then into like a grave digging, that's protected, right?
Yeah, that's protected, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Your water pet is not gonna extend or delay that long anyway.
Okay,
so you
cool.
only want to catch them first half.
Alright, awesome. Alright, so Rujinx, let's talk about your playstyle against Warrior. Is it aggressive, reactive, passive, you know?
I wouldn't say passive, but it's definitely not as aggressive as Grief. I tend to lean towards using my fire pet and trying to bait warriors into using their frontal guard movements, like their double dash with the shields.
Yep.
And like the really extended one. And when I also look for like openings in their super armor. So when they switch to super armor, I'll slow them. And when they're in frontal guard, I'll proactively use pet stiffen.
Okay.
And this whole time I tend to stay just out of grab range, but like far enough so that they're tempted to run at me.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some of Warrior's super armor engages. Like, can you describe some of those skills? Just so we know when we can slow them without retardano.
They jump and then they slash you. They do this jump and then they slash towards you, and it closes the gap. That's super armor. It doesn't see.
Okay. Yeah. And
Also, one more thing to watch out for is warriors have this skill where they kind of spin around, and I wouldn't trade against this skill ever at all. And the reason why is because most warriors who like to duel have an add-on in here where I believe it's 30% slow attack speed and move speed.
yeah.
So
I've been hit by that slow. Yeah.
I would definitely run. I don't know if it's 30%, but it's an annoying slow. I would definitely get the fuck away from that.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. All right. We've got to talk about solar flare disability. Also, I see this ability is quite powerful, especially fighting against wizards. So I don't know, Ridgings, you want to talk about solar flare for a bit?
The main thing you have to know is that if they use it after a awakening dash, it will extend the iframe of the awakening dash into the solar flare.
Okay.
So, and that's usually how they use it. I don't really see warriors using it normally, like just on its own.
Yep. And
A lot of the time, if they catch you with solar flare, they'll try to use overwhelm, which is a float.
yep.
In that case, I would try to use one of the faster moving super armor CCs, such as Frigid Fog. So if they get too close too fast, you can always teleport out of their grab.
Yeah, I see. All right, and just like to quickly summarize, like what makes Warrior such a difficult, sorry, what makes Wizard such a difficult matchup for Warrior is that they have a lot of mobility, they have a grab, and they're relatively tanky, right? Is there anything?
Yep, they have a lot of gap closers that are either super fast or protected. And warriors' natural enemies are really just grab classes, right? Just because of our super armors, their long cast animations, and in a duel, honestly, if a warrior were to play very careful and very defensive, I don't think a wizard can win at all.
Yeah, I agree with
That's
this. Yeah.
that's just that's just how it is. You cannot you cannot do any kind of like range attacks that would melt their guard instantly. They have one of the best scaling forward guards.
And they get a damage resistance buff when they block a skill, right? Similar to Witch's Q block.
I think it's AP. I think.
Wait, is that?
It's
I think
AP and
AP.
DP.
Yeah.
AP and DP. Yep, balance.
They also
speed.
have two other self buffs that combine to give them a total of 25 DP on top of their block DP. I'm pretty sure.
So is this
Yeah, I think they have like
DP
55.
damage resistance? What they get flat DP? Like is it evasion or
Yeah,
DR?
flat DR damage reduction.
Okay.
Any kind of plus DP in the game, I believe, is
And
DR.
yeah, and this is what kind of makes them also relatively tanky, right? Like even if the warrior has like around soft cap DP, he can seem relatively tanky with these self buffs.
Yeah, one thing I would also like note in there is if you're fighting a warrior and if you do manage to like land a CC, but if you notice that you're slowed and if you think you cannot kill the warrior in one combo, just get the fuck away, and instead of casting another skill for damage, you just slow them, shift Q, and get the fuck away. At least you have some range presence right after that once they get up.
Okay, cool. All right. So any that was a pretty complete overview of Warrior. Is there any last words about Warrior before we move on to Tamer? Or?
Nope.
All right, cool. All right, let's talk about Tamer. I think Rujinx, you have a lot of experience in this matchup, so if you want to just start off with it.
It's kind of like Warrior, but a little. I'd say it's even harder to fight than a Warrior,
Okay,
just
yeah.
because they have that infamous iframe, and also a lot of their abilities are cancelable. So really skilled tamers will know how to bait out your teleports and just chase you down, and because their grab cancels their movement pretty quickly, you don't really have time to react to it.
Yeah, I
Your
understand that.
traditional super armor CCs won't work on them. And also trying to trade them, even if they don't grab you, their trading is really strong.
They are because of their FG, and they typically just dance around you as well. Not to mention that they also have a grab, right? This just adds another layer of difficulty.
And it's a really
Even though
fast
they
grab, right?
It's a really fast grab, and also they just have a lot of gap closers, pretty much. Best way to do it is, I guess, try to play from range if you can. Although this will be really tough because they can kind of follow you around with ease, where they just pole vault into you and just. One thing to know against them as well is they have the better pet, in my opinion, versus versus the pets that we have.
Yeah,
So
let's talk
definitely
about that pet real
okay.
quick and what it does and how the mechanics of the tamer pet, right?
Yes. So similar to what I explained earlier, where most classes after they land either a grab or a CC, they use unprotected stuff, right? Well, this is not exception. Wizard is not an exception at all. Most of the combos, at least the first half of it, is unprotected, and you are very prone to just getting CC'd by the pet if the pet is within the distance. So if you do manage to catch them, uh, I would honestly cut short your combo. I would limit it to, say, for example, just like a grab, a fireball into a cataclysm, and most of the time that's good enough to kill them. The bound on the cataclysm is you just use that as your second CC.
Yeah. What if you just do like a KD into Bolide, Revamp Cancel, and then like Cataclysm?
You can do that too.
Yeah.
As long as it's protected.
So, Rujinx talked to me about this. So basically, especially when you have the Tamer CC, the pet kind of goes into hyper mode, aggressive mode, and it'll really try to get on you and CC you. Like, and the thing is that the Tamer doesn't need to do anything, right? The pet is just itself.
Yep, it's automatic.
Yeah, automatic.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. What else going to talk about?
Yeah, like similar to Sork, although the risk on this is much higher compared to like using it on a Sork. You can always use your typical Earthquake in hopes that they fuck up and have like a gap in which they get stiffened. Right, this is usable as well.
Yeah.
It's not as effective, but it is one way of countering them.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Anything you want to add, Rujinx, to the Tamer matchup?
Yeah. In my opinion, the matchup almost entirely depends on how good the tamer is. There's not really much you can do against someone who's playing absolutely perfectly. The one thing I think that you can take advantage of is either abusing their stamina, which is very hard to do. You have to run around without your weapon out a lot.
Yep.
Or you can take advantage of lag, where you try to catch them in the gap between their iframe. When they're
So,
doing
yeah.
their WW dash, when they land and then they start up another dash, I've noticed that there's a pretty noticeable gap in their iframe.
Okay. Yeah.
And
That's
if you get used to the timing, you can try to catch people out of that.
Yeah. Okay. And with their pole vault, Rujinx, sometimes teams use this to close the distance against you really quick. There's things you can do to counter their pole vault jump.
Yeah, their landing is not a CC, so you have the opportunity to grab them out of it. However, if you're too slow to do it, they will cancel into a CC almost immediately. So you have to get. I'd recommend like going into the battle arena and practicing with like a tamer that you're friendly with.
Yep.
Just getting used to the timing of grabbing them out of the air before they even touch the ground is a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So
Isn't there pole vault super armor?
Yes.
It is, right? So you can slow it as well.
have you tried to do that, Richings? Or
I have, and I just don't personally like to do it. I feel like the grab has more reward.
yeah. Well, I feel like if you slow the tamer in the bubble, he's just gonna like just dash around.
And you're just extending their iframes pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Similar to Sork, right?
Similar
Alright.
to Sword.
All right, cool. I think we're going through most of what we need for Tamer. Very hard, very difficult matchup. All right, do you guys want to group Maywa and Musa together, or
No, they're very
No,
different.
they're
no?
different.
All right, cool.
Very, very.
Okay, so let's talk about Maywa first.
Okay, Meiwa is one of those classes that deal a lot of burst damage, rely on going, getting behind you and doing, getting you stiffened, getting you CC'd pretty much. So any class that does this, that doesn't have a grab, you would always want to be in super armor, always, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, this again highly depends on the skill level of the Meiwa as well. I would like to say average, about above average skill level. For Meiwas, you can just stay in super armor forever and they cannot do shit. You just trade better, you have bigger damage, it's just a better matchup for you, right? However,
yeah.
as far as like higher skilled Meiwas,
Well, I feel like before that, even higher AP Maywas, they can definitely trade you into your super armors with their frontal guard skills, though. If we're talking like 280 to 90 AP Maywas.
yeah, I mean it's still kind of like risky for them because a lot of their damage skills
Yeah.
are actually unprotected. They do have some forward guard skills, but like I think they only have 2 skills that can do that, and that's it, right? They don't even
Okay.
have all too much super armor. I
Yeah.
think they may have 1 super armor, and that's
Yeah,
it.
they're mainly a frontal guard class, which is what also makes them so bad in large scale PvP, right?
Yep. So typically for this, again, you just want to be in super armor. Never in forward guard because good Maywas will just get behind you and stiffen you from there. Good Maywas, though, what they do is they dash towards you and wait for you to react with a super armor skill. And then once you've done that, then they dash back just so they don't get hit. And then they dash in again, hoping for you to cast a super armor and then get the fuck out again. If they're really good at baiting, there are a few counterplays to that. First off, is you still have your range kit, which you can kind of maybe squeeze in like 1 skill and then go into super armor again. And also your pets. So pets, again, this is a forward guard skill, or forward guard heavy class, which pets can just counter quite easily with good pet positioning. And in here, you don't necessarily have to have the water pet out. You can have either one, as long as the Meiwa is between you and the pet.
Yeah.
You'll be able to do it, no problem.
Yeah, the pet is really important in this matchup, isn't it? Yeah.
If you want to win, at least if you play to win, not play to not lose, because there's a difference. I'm just saying super armor.
Well, yeah, against the soft cap Maywa, sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, what I like doing is I like to expend my teleport first, just so they have that mentality of like, oh, he expended his teleport, he can't really do much if I go aggressive on him. He has to wait another 7 seconds, right? But what I do is I like activating the pet first, either, or like teleporting in and then activating the pet and then rotating super armors in hopes that I can catch them. And the pet can catch them from behind, pretty much. From
when you say
from-
rotating super armors, you mean doing a bolide and then going to unawakened stuff?
No, I would just do Bolide, linger that for a little bit, or actually no, Cataclysm. This is
Well, if you
for
use
the
a
most part
cataclysm,
won't work.
cataclysm, you just desummon your pet, though, wouldn't it? Like,
It does, yeah. So if you want to just rotate super armors, you can Cataclysm into Bolide and then linger that for a cool minute, and then water, like the aqua jail, and
yeah.
then by the time that's done, you can Cataclysm again and teleport out. That's enough.
Okay, cool. Right. Would you ever try to challenge a Mayor in ranged CCs?
This is, I think, highly dependent on who you're fighting. I have fought Nayashi a few times, and Nayashi has this. They have this tendency to cast the arrow based off of what skill I use. You know how Frigid Fog kind of has that gap right after where it's not super armor.
Yes, yes.
So they know that. Like Miyashi knows that like really well, and so what they do is they try to
also
cast
at the
an
start
arrow.
of Frigid Fog is unprotected as well, I feel.
That I
Like,
don't know, but I
when you
know
have
at the
That's
end
this,
of
because
it,
you're
there's
paying Jackie.
yeah,
yeah,
but
that
like I've
might
been
be just
CC'd so many times when I have my staff in the air before it hits the ground. I've been CC'd out of that Frigid Fog animation. I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's for paying.
what I like doing is kind of like find out like what their patterns are. For Nayashi, you frigid fog, they cast the arrow instantly right after. So what I
Yeah.
do, I cast the pet, and then the moment I think the pet is gonna land, I time it so that it's towards the end of my frigid fog, and I've gotten them maybe like twice or three times this way. But then again, that depends on who you're fighting.
Yeah, okay, cool. And so just before we move on to Musa, the main I don't know, Rujings, you want to add anything to the Maywa matchup?
Don't grab Redmond.
Don't grab Red Moon. Yep, don't grab Red
Yeah.
Moon.
So with Red Moon, every slash is a CC, right?
It is.
Is that a
And it goes
float
behind you.
or
It's a float.
okay? So and they can cancel out of it before early, right?
Yes, they can. They can pop out to either sides,
Okay.
and yeah, that's
But
forward guard
you
too.
know, I originally thought it was the iframe, but it's not an iframe. It's a frontal guard.
I think it used to be.
It used to be iframe, Red Moon.
I think so.
Okay, so when a May was doing Red Moon, what would you do? Just rotate super armors?
Maybe. Sometimes I like to put up an S block just because Redmond does do quite a bit of damage.
Oh yeah,
Or teleport out.
yeah, all
But
that.
yeah, never, ever try to grab that or do anything funny that's unprotected or
So-
forward guard against it
When would you grab a Maywa though?
when they're stiffened. When
Ah,
they
yeah.
pop out. Okay, so what I like doing is I teleport to place. I was like, oh, okay, he doesn't have teleport anymore. And what I like to do is right where the pets are, like right where the pet is. If the pet, I position the pet behind me, right, and then I bolide to my front, and then they try to pop out behind me in hopes of like CCing me. And I think
Yep.
their stiffen is I think a forward guard. Or
Yeah. So
you
like
can get them.
yeah, for the rest of you guys, like you can linger your bolide animation for how many seconds after it hits the ground?
Quite a lot up until you go back to the
Like 4 or 5
normal
seconds.
attack stat. I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably.
so
Minimum 4 seconds.
yeah, so essentially against a lot of classes who don't know the wizard mechanics that well, right? A lot of time they think you're in unprotected stance while you're still in super armor, right? And during this lingering animation, you can use a lot of cancels in your kit. And you can basically play very reactively and like you can instantly just grab somebody when they think you're unprotected, but you're actually in super armor, right? So this is what you're talking about when you're saying lingering your bolide, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. That's good about Maywa, is it?
I don't think so.
Okay. Cool. All right. Let's move on to its counterpart Musa here. Believe Rujinx, you have a lot of experience in this matchup, and you too, Griefed, because you played Musa for a section. But just Rujinx, just in terms of your experience fighting full in Battle Arena, what do you think about this Musa versus Wizard matchup?
A lot of fighting Musa from a wizard's perspective is trying to avoid getting killed through super armor.
Yep.
If the Musa doesn't have enough AP to kill you with their SA trade, you're probably gonna win like almost 100% of the time. But once you climb towards those 280, 290 APs, they'll try to below the belt, cross cut, backflow. Those three do a lot of damage. But Musa does have some quirks and some gaps that you can abuse, and I think Grief can talk about that more better than I can.
Yeah, as a Musa player as well, what again? We'll divide this like by skill level. Most Musas say average to about above average skill level Musas. You can just super armor trade them, no problem. And this is something that you can abuse. Doesn't matter like what AP bracket. You're more than likely just going to out trade them, like period. One thing that you can do though is know a few things against Musa. First off, is they are a super armor trade class, which means they either have to bait you or trade with you. And if they trade with you most of the time, if unless you're taking back attack, you're gonna be about the same. Now, the scariest part about Musa is after they're done super armor trading with you, is that they have their biggest skill, which is Crust Crusher. So Crust Crusher, if you guys don't know, Crust Crusher is that skill where they poke the ground with their spear and then do this like flow motion that kind of like sweeps you.
Oh,
This
okay. Wait, I thought that was
skill
below the belt.
no, below the belt is a spin. So
Oh,
there's two things to keep in mind against like just the matchup.
Foul play?
Foul play is a flow, but cross crusher is the
okay. So cross crusher into foul play. Okay.
Cross crusher into foul play. So first off is again they're a super armor trade class. One thing to know is that their super armors do not deal any kind of CC. The only super armor that they have that deals CC is their 50%. And if you have the, if you keep this in mind, you can do a few things. First off, is you can either slow them when they're just straight out there, just like super armor trading with you. You can sneak a slow and then go back to super armor, and I guarantee you're going to win that trade because of the slow. Another thing you can do is, since you know their super armor don't do any CCs, you can grab them out of it as well. Since there's really no, I mean, you're just gonna take damage, right? And that's it. If you do fail that grab, though, you're gonna take more damage. But that's about. And that's one thing to keep in mind. Super armors don't deal CCs. And the next
just
one
in terms of Griefed, in terms of their awakening form, they have this shout they can do that stiffens you, right? In their awakening.
Yes, from behind.
Okay.
But this is one of those classes where they don't have any grabs, and they will try to go behind you and either dragon bite you, which is like a stun.
Is that their only super awakened CC, or
it's pre-awakened?
Oh,
like wait a minute, the shout?
Yeah, the shout. Yeah, that's different.
The shout is unprotected.
Yeah.
Shout is unprotected and it's a stun.
Okay, yep.
Yep, but they have to catch you from behind. If you're in super armor, you don't have to worry. It's not going to do anything. Another thing, again, so super armors don't do any CCs. Next one is their biggest damaging skill, which is Crush Crusher into foul play. You only have to block the first hit, and this is something that I've showed you, Jackie.
Yeah.
You only have to block the first part of it, which does a KD. Okay, and I guarantee you, if they do that flow, you can walk up to them and grab them out of it, and they can do shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a clip of that. We can make one if you want, but it's quite easy to exploit against like Musas, because Musas have this mentality that, oh, he's a wizard. If he tries to trade, I'll just use this skill, and he's just gonna get fucked. One thing to know about that skill as well, from the Crust Crusher to Foul Play, is that there is some sort of gap between that, but it is very small. I wouldn't even rely on it all too much. The more reliable way of dealing with it is one of two things. If you see a Musa poke his spear on the ground, you either get the fuck away by teleporting out, or you block the first hit and then grab him for the flow. Those are the two only options that you have. You're not gonna try to super armor trade that, because I guarantee you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah. But the important thing to take note here, Grief, is that they can cancel out of Cross Crusher and not even do the foul.
Out of it.
They
can.
Yeah. So and not even do the foul play animation. And I feel like really good Musas, like if they know the wizard has their grab up, they won't go for that second part of it. They won't even try to cross foul play,
or they stay in max range, or they can just stay in max range. That's why these are your two options. These are your two only outplays.
Yeah, but against average Musas, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's very punishable. And one more thing against Musas as well is they do tend to expend a lot of stamina trying to just bait you. What you can do again is, if you feel like the Musa is kind of out of stamina, you can cast your pet Stiffen and then teleport to the opposite direction. That way, if they are blocking, they get Stiffen from the back.
Yeah.
Just another tool that you can do.
Okay, cool. All right. And the other thing I want to talk about is a Musa engaging you in unawakened form is most likely going for a D-bite, right? So Ridging's if you want to talk about Dragon Bite real quick, the skill.
Dragon Bite is a very fast casting frontal guard that also has a a stun for Musa.
Yep.
A lot of good Musas know how to dash behind you faster than you can turn. So using a super armor is super important in those cases. It's also, I think if you have ultimate chase, you can swap from awakening to pre-awakening and just dash instantly, right, Grieve?
What's that again?
If you have ultimate chase on Musa, you can swap from awakening to pre-awakening and just keep dashing.
From awakening to pre-awakening, yes, you can cancel it, but you cannot cancel it the other way.
Yeah, so you're not completely safe if they're dashing at you in awakening.
Yep, definitely not.
Yeah, okay. Because a lot of the time when I see Musas dashing at me in awakening, basically I just get the feeling that they're trying to trade with my super armors, and
which they are.
Yeah. And okay, so in general, just to summarize the Musa matchup, is to essentially look for that cross crusher animation. Also utilize your pet stiffen, and also what else? Watch out for the dragon bite, D-bite when they're engaging you in unawakened form. And also, they do have the same bow shots as Meiwa, I believe, as well. Their Raban Marrow does a lot of damage, especially at high AP. Yeah.
They chunk.
One thing I want to add is that you should not be playing this matchup defensively the entire time, because Grief said earlier, they can pretty much only SA trade you. So if you see them burn all 3 of their SAs, it's super important that you put pressure on their other resources during that time. Make them run away from you, make them use their stamina, pressure their block. All these things will eventually make the Musa get CC'd.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Oh, and just you can probably edit this earlier. There's all their super armor skills look like they're spinning. If they're in awaken, if they have their spear out, and if they're spinning, more than likely they are in super armor.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's some good tips right there. Okay. All right. Let's go on the next one, which is Valkyrie. I think the wizard versus Valkyrie matchup is relatively easy for the wizard, right? If he knows what he's doing.
If they know how to use a pet, yeah.
Yeah. So, Rujings, you want to start off this conversation?
Yeah, Valkyrie is one of the easiest matchups, like you said. I think almost all of their movement is unprotected except for a couple, and they're very short. So their gap close may be fast, but they're not protected. So keeping constant pressure with the pet stiffens will catch them most of the time.
Yep.
And basically, just keeping the range pressure on them will force them to like gap close on you,
Yeah.
and then you just have the pet stiffen and you combo from there.
Yeah, I think the only other thing you kind of need to watch out for is the ranged AoE suck ability they cast.
Yeah, it spins
Yeah, so when they cast that, would you kind of have to
super
expend
armor.
your teleport or
Super armor.
Just
Don't
super
try to
armor.
teleport
just
it.
super armor? Okay.
Hold on.
Because usually after they use that ability, they'll try to really gap close you, like
Yeah.
for grab, right? So you wouldn't really teleport. What would you teleport for against the Valk though?
The only time I would teleport is if my pet stiffen failed and they're gap closing on me and I don't have anything to react with.
Yeah, okay. And Valk does a lot of damage, right? They can easily
If you get caught, you will die.
yeah. So, but it's they basically don't even need a second CC, right? They just like grab you and do that skill where they slam their spear
Hold
into
the
the ground. Yeah,
Yeah, Terra
Yup.
Sancta, I think.
yeah, and just die. Yeah, okay. I think there's not that much to talk about Valk. Like that's about it, right?
I mean, there are some skilled Valks, and I'd say if an average Valk versus a average Wizard plays, I'm pretty sure the Valk will win.
Yeah,
But the higher I don't know, like just higher skill levels, I think Wizard just has more tools for engages and
Yeah.
counter plays.
yeah,
Just again, you have like the pets, you have the option to teleport back to place. If they do try to engage and try to grab you, you can easily counter that, and they cannot easily move out of that. And yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's other basics. I mean, is this a class that you would super armor trade with? More than likely not.
nah,
Is this a class that you would try to outpoke range? Definitely. And if you see them raise their spear, I would definitely either teleport out or WC block that, just so you don't get hit by that bound from range.
yeah. And Valkyrie has the same kind of block as Warrior, right?
Better.
Yeah.
A better. Okay. What?
Yes.
How better is?
You can water sphere them into the flow and then fireball or bomb into the explosion, and they still have probably like 15 on their guard.
Was they just
That
have?
kind of bad.
They just have a
Their
strong.
guard is just very strong.
Okay.
Mm.
Cool. Right. Okay. Cool. Okay. Let's move on to Ninja. Which one of you have some more experience in this matchup?
As I am a ninja player on a trial, a whole
Yes.
24 hours.
Wow. 24 hours.
Ninja, yeah, 24 hours of gameplay. Ninja is extremely dependent on how the ninja plays the matchup.
Yep.
So ninjas are known for having these like constant iframe, but a lot of their movement requires them to use some form of unprotected movement at some time. This is, I think it's called ghost greeting. I know it's shift LMB while they're sprinting,
Yep.
and their murderous intent, which is the little slice and awakening. Also, you might be able to catch them out of silent charge, but that's more dependent on lag. But basically, ninjas don't have a lot of protected CCs. They only have one, which is smokescreen. Your biggest threat as a wizard is their block jump grab, and even then you have a counter.
Which is your own block jump. You teleport to place and grab.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have done that on against like a few ninjas. It has worked. It is risky. I wouldn't use it as a go-to. It's fancy and it's satisfying if you do
Yeah.
need it.
You like to play
But
like a badass, don't you, Grief?
I mean, I like just playing aggressive.
Yeah, a
It's okay if I
badass.
lose
Yeah.
them, as long as you know you just go in there and Do it.
When
No,
are you making a montage, dude?
I'm never gonna do that.
Jesus.
I'm not gonna posterize people, bro. That's disrespectful. I'm not like Jackie Felix, you know.
What do you mean? Just go open world. No one cares. All right, back to the
Anyways,
topic. Yes.
so one thing that you can do here again, uh, same pattern, right? You have a class that has super armor and no, actually like iframes. You have a class that has iframes that pop out to do a CC skill that's unprotected, similar to Sork. So again, in this matchup, one thing you can do is you can cast your Earthquake, and if you manage to land a Stiffen on them, which is highly possible, I typically catch ninjas with Earthquake maybe like 7 out of 10 times, maybe even higher percentage in open world PvP, and then you can just combo from there.
Yeah. So important best skills to use against ninja, earthquake, and frigid fog, right?
Yep.
Earthquake, frigid fog, and also another thing you can do
And
is if you want to play really smart. Again, people like good ninjas can play around your earthquake. It'll come to a point where you won't ever stiffen them ever again because they just learned how to play against it. What you can do, and this is something that you can do, I recommend most wizards do it, is try to have them chase you. Ninjas, all their movement pretty much take up stamina, and if you go to if you just wait for them to engage you and then teleport out and then range poke them, if you just keep doing that, eventually they'll play kind of defensive, in which they will then just like block there and just like C swap, right? To kind of like just linger that block a little bit. And then you have some space for yourself to either do range pokes or heal up or whatever it is. One thing that you can do here as well, Ninja is no exception. Ninja's skills, once they grab you, is unprotected, which means you can also bait it so that you cast your pet stiffen and then you just stand there and have them grab you. And even there's even a high chance that you will stiffen them while they're grabbing you, and then you just
yeah.
get up and grab them.
Yeah, okay. So would you recommend using the fire or water pet in this matchup, Griefed?
I like using the water pet on
Yeah.
this one.
I think you and Ridgings like the fire pet more, you like the water pet more.
Yeah, it's just I think it's more of like the counterplay
Yeah.
for me,
Okay.
and just like the way I look at it is, it's true that you do not have as much control because you don't really get that stiffness fast. However, during that time while you're waiting for the pet to charge up that stiffen, you can also do other stuff like teleport in, teleport out. You can
Yeah.
also cast some range pokes. There's just, I mean, that's the way I look at it, at least.
Yeah.
I don't use the pet stiffen as a pet stiffen itself. I use it in conjunction with other skills.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think Ogma is using the fire pet as well. I know Ridgings,
Yeah,
do you have anything to add to that? The pet stiffen?
In terms of pets,
Yep.
I switch them depending on the person I'm fighting. If I feel like I am getting pressured too hard and I don't have a good response, I'll use water pet just to play more defensively when they grab. But most of the time I prefer fire pet just because like I like hunting for those small gaps. So having the pet stiffen and then using one of my own CCs directly after makes it easier for me to abuse gaps basically.
Yep. Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think does that summarize most of the points about Ninja? Any
yeah,
last
I
minute?
think so.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so let's go and on and talk about Ninja's sister class, which is Kuno, and we'll just start off talking about what's the differences between Ninja and Kuno, these two classes. So, yep.
I can start.
Yep.
The main difference between the two is in their movement and also what they're aiming to do when it comes to fighting you. Kuno has a lot more has better SA trading with their spin, And also Kit has really short bursts of damage that they can use between RCCs. So they don't necessarily have to grab you to kill you, in my experience.
Okay. Yeah.
They also only have one grab instead of two like Ninja. So if they miss it, they're forced to play defensively almost. But I'd say the most important difference between Ninja and Kuno is that instead of Ninja Step, which is Ninja's iframe, and his Silent Charge, which is also iframe, Kuno has Lunar Dash, which is unprotected, and Half Moon Slash, which is a lingering super armor.
Yep.
So you have a higher chance of actually dealing damage to them while they're gap closing. And so keeping up the pet stiffs is even more important in this scenario. But also the ranged poke will almost always catch them at some point, because if you drain their block, they have no choice but to use unprotected movement.
Yep. Yeah, I see. Yep. Okay. And Kuno also has access to block jump, similar to Ninja.
Yep.
And
They also have more range presence.
okay, let's talk about their range presence, Grift.
They have like two extra skill. I guess just one extra skill really for catching you with range. It is unprotected, but it's another tool that they can use just in case, you know, they
What?
run out of like tricks.
Okay, describe what it looks like. This ability.
I think it's when they're in awaken and they throw like a kind of like a big ass shuriken or like whatever
It's
their awakening weapon is. I think it's a stun.
it's called Delighted Blast, and it has two components. When they slice up, it's a float as if they were like melee attacking you, but also
Yes.
after they slice, it's a projectile,
KD.
kind of like Musa's projection, where if it explodes on contact with you, it's a KD.
Okay. Yep. Interesting. Okay. And Kuno has like recently buffed skill and it's really strong, right? It's like an SA, does a lot of damage, gives it heal as well.
Yeah, it's
Let's
massive.
let's talk about that skill. Jinx, you want to talk about that skill?
Yeah, so when they spin, it's a super armor, and when they hit you with it, it also heals them. It has a way to extend it, kind of like Chilling Wave, except it's just longer spinning.
Okay.
The second spin does less damage, so after the initial burst comes from the first two spins. There are 4 spins total.
Yeah. And it's a relatively short cooldown, right?
Yeah, it's like 10
It
seconds.
is. It's 8 seconds. And then another thing for their super armor is kind of like a Musa's spin, kind of like their crosscut. And that cooldown for that is, I think, 3 seconds, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Okay.
So they definitely have more super armor trading
Yeah.
presence
And
and range presence.
okay, so when Kunos use the skill, they mainly use it for trading or comboing you when they grab you.
Both.
Both?
Bait.
Okay. Right. So like if they use the skill when let's say you're in super armor, will they just take half your hit points or
Half or more, I'd say.
damn.
More, dude.
Okay.
Kuno's
I-
like they scale really.
Yeah. I need to just fight a Kuno and get my ass kicked and see what this ability does because I actually haven't seen in 1v1s.
Have a Kuno you can fight, dude. Probably like the most annoying Kuno I've ever.
Okay. Cool. Alright. So that's it about Kuno, pretty much?
Yeah, same thing, right? Ninja,
Yeah.
use your earthquake as well.
Yeah.
On this, and
Earthquake
you have a higher
confirmed.
chance of catching Kunos with your meteor. I find it that if you pop stage and then teleport anywhere and then cast that, you're more than likely to you're more than likely to just like catch them, either with a stiff.
That's mostly because average and below average Kunos tend to use Lunar Dash as like a panic movement, and that's unprotected.
Okay.
More
Cool.
skilled Kunos will tend to linger their Half Moon Slash, which is their crosscut equivalent, and just watch the minimap or just look for where you appear before they do anything.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, interesting. That's some really good points that we covered through there about Ninja and Kuno. Alright, let's go on and talk about Lan. Now, would you say this would possibly be one of Wizards' most challenging matchups against like average players?
I'd say it's It's okay. It's not one of the
It's
hardest ones.
you say warriors or warrior tamer? Or?
Yeah, those two are definitely the highest pressure ones.
Okay. Okay, so
Lan
let's
is not as hard.
yeah, so let's talk about Lan quickly and what this class does and its strengths in 1v1s especially. If Grief or Rujinx want to talk about it. Or...
Lana is definitely one of the harder matchups here, mainly because of
it will be
the
top 3,
range.
right?
I definitely would say
top 5.
If okay, again, worst enemy of like a wizard is any class that plays fucking defensive. Like that's it, right? And if all classes were to play defensive at such a high level skill level as well, I'd say Lan is probably my number one most hated matchup. That's because first off, they have a shitload of super armors that they can linger.
Yep.
Okay, which means you cannot range CC them. And what they typically do, skilled Lons at least, is they either are in super armor or they're on iframe. You can't do like your only counterplay with that is going to be a grab, and typically that's risky as hell. There are a few gaps for Lons though, which are typically their frontal guards, which you can use your pet Stiffen for. The way I like doing this is I precast my water pet and then teleport randomly, and when they're guessing like where I'm gonna pop out, typically they tend to just like S block that, right?
Yeah.
And
well, they usually side dash a lot, don't they?
They do as well, but when they teleport, I think most of them just super armor it. Honestly, like the really good ones, but there is a chance that they would try to S block it, and if they do, what you can do is the moment your pet stiffen lands, you also throw a range CC from the opposite side.
Okay.
Just so they kind of get sandwiched with it, but this just doesn't work against like really defensive Lons though.
Yep. Okay. And essentially, let's talk about the side dash real quick and what it does. So it's off cooldown. It's the iframe, and is it when it has a cooldown, right? It's a super armor, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And essentially, a lot of Lans, when they try to go for the grab, which we'll talk about later after this, but they'll usually do a side dash first and then go for the grab, right? Or
making mouse move
it's
fly.
Up to them.
Yeah. I mean, like in terms of what Lans do as a habit, right? Like it's just so you can try to predict when they're about to grab you, right?
I'd say the best ways to tell are if they use their double dash straight at you, or if they're just doing their side dash towards you. Also the fly.
Yep.
Those are the three main ones you have to look out for, but other Lans have really cool ways of moving around you.
Okay, but just the generic Lan, right? I'm not even talking about like the best Lans in NA. I'm not even gonna try to fight that, but the average Lan, right? The average Lan player.
Yeah.
You will look out for their double. So that double dash is the frontal guard, right?
It's a super armor.
Oh, okay, it's a super armor, and their side dash, as I said before, is iframe off cooldown, super armor on cooldown, and when they're flying towards you, that is it's important to take note that they're in super armor when they're flying towards you, and when they land, it's a bound. Okay, yeah. All right, so let's talk about Lan's grab real quick and how broken this ability is. Guys, Rujinx, you want to talk about the Lan's grab?
Yeah. The range on it is really insane. If you've ever been grabbed by a Lan, you know already. It also has a very wide horizontal range,
Yes.
so there's a lot of room for error for them.
So
One thing
essentially,
to note is, yeah, what's up?
so essentially, it's basically really hard for them to ever miss a grab on you, right? Like if you just aim in
Yeah.
your general direction, they'll grab you.
Yeah, your only answer to it is an iframe,
Yeah, which is your teleport.
or to never get in range of it to begin with, which is also difficult.
Yeah, it's
but
very hard.
I don't know what kind of movement they have, but when they kind of like move forward, I think that is unprotected. They have one skill that where they can move forward
Yeah.
that doesn't use all
That's
that
the
much stamina.
bomb.
Is that the Rabam?
Yeah, it has a CC applied to it as well.
Yeah, just to let you know, all movements for lawns require stamina, so it's one of those prime classes where the perfect scenario would be they fly to bait you and then you don't get baited, and you teleport out, like double teleport, and they try to chase you. By the time they get to you, they're not gonna have all that much stamina.
Yeah, I remember doing that in History. So basically, when a LAN is flying towards you, all we really need to do is sheath your weapons and just start running, right?
Nah, I would just super armor that, just bolide, and once they land, most of the time they try to grab you, and this all depends on how ballsy you are.
That's
But it
ballsy.
is possible that when you when they land, they go to a grab, and what you can do is you can just kind of like magical evasion that, hoping that they miss their grab.
Wait,
And if
what?
they do, then yeah,
Holy
dude,
shit.
I've done it against like some lawns, dude.
Okay.
It's doable, but there's also a chance that when they land, they do that spinny thing that floats you.
Yeah.
All depends on how much balls you got, dude.
I don't have any balls against the LAN, dude. Like,
Bottom line is like just the matchup is just really
all right,
hard.
let's
for Wizard.
say you're playing like a little girl griefed, okay? Right?
Okay.
Let's talk about that. So, when you see a LAN flying towards you, you would try to slow them first with your retardano, right?
I wouldn't even do that because I'd say 8 out of 10 times it just misses.
Yeah, I found that
Because
as
this
well.
game's laggy as fuck. Yep.
Yeah, okay. And essentially, you don't need to teleport when they're flying towards you and land. You can just use your
No, you
Hellfire.
don't have to.
You can use your Hellfire or
You,
just pull your weapons away
you
and
can
move out of
hellfire
their
out.
range, right?
Yep. Or
Then,
yeah, you can just bolide, and
and
they have to land first. They can't just be flying and then grab you instantly. And when you see them land, then you can teleport out if you want.
well, if they
Yep.
land and you don't CC them immediately, you kind of have to teleport out, like, right?
Yeah, but at least just so you can put some range pressure on them.
Yeah, I would like to see some videos of either Eurojinx or Grief fighting a good LAN, just to see like in action. Because for me myself personally, I feel like I learn a lot more. I'm a visual learner, right? But yeah,
Wish I still had my VOD, dude, but
yeah.
here's one.
But Eurojinx, you used to have that VOD where you fought Semp, right?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. We might, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But okay, let's talk about Lan's E buff real quick.
Just PA, bro.
What's there to say, dude? They have 30 seconds of infinite protection.
Yeah. So with this infinite protection, essentially makes it so that they don't consume any stamina, and when they side dash, it's like a permanent iframe, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. So essentially, when a Lan, so if a Lan doesn't give a shit about anything and he's trying to just gank you in Histria, he'll just E-bar fly towards you and just like you can't. There's not much you can do, right? Unless
Basically.
yeah,
Once they e-buff, they have complete control over the fight.
yeah, and yeah. So it's a very strong. Line is a very tough matchup for Wizard, definitely. But as Griefed and Rujing said, there are ways for you to play around it. Yep, and yeah, just hope for the best. All right, so that's about it. That's about it for Lan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Alright, let's go on to the next matchup, which is Witch. Which one of you want to start off talking about Witch?
Grief can start.
Yep.
So, which is pretty much our mage counterpart that just has way better damage trading potential compared to wizard. So, rule number one is if you're equally geared, never try to trade with a witch, because you're gonna lose that fight all the time, 100% of the time
I agree.
if you trade. So there are a few things that where wizard is better. A few places is first off we have better range presence. I think. We
I think
have
let's talk about that, Grief, because in 1v1s, I feel like Witches, Rabam Lightning, just for the catch, right? Witches, Rabam Lightning, and Detonate Flow kind of like if you cast them the same time as your Water Sphere and Rabam Fireball, like they'll always hit you
they're
first.
gonna get it first. Yep, they're gonna get you first.
So yeah,
So aside from those two, right? Like the WF is also whatever that skill is also much faster than your water sphere.
yeah, Detonate Flow, yeah.
But the reason why I say this is because realistically, if you're trying to range poke against someone, you're going to be doing that dance where you block and then cast the skill and then block and then cast the skill. And just because we have more CCs, I think, and also better CCs, we can all agree here that KD is a better CC than stun. We just have better range. We have more.
Yeah.
We pose a bigger threat as
Yep.
far as like range pokes go. It can happen where you get stunned and then they follow up, teleport in, and then do a float on you, which just so you guys know, float is also a shorter CC compared to a KD. And most of the time you get up with like a quarter health left. And then
Yeah,
you can just
well,
teleport out.
if they stun you and then they teleport with a bound and then into a gore roll, I think, or a thunderstorm, I feel like if you're finding anyone who's like 280 to 90 AP witch, you're basically dead.
Yeah, but if you're equally geared, then
Yeah.
I don't think.
I feel like the matchup is a lot less punishing when fighting a witch, especially at like 250, 260 AP.
No, yeah, there are a lot of ways to deal with a witch, though. Very first thing I would try to do is first off just try to uh, pose more threat range, just because you have the better CC's range, right? And you can fully combo them in range as well.
Yeah.
And another thing you can do is you either fight really long range or really close quarters in grab distance, because that's where you excel against this matchup at least. And there's a few things that you can do against witches. First off, is let's talk about like as far as like advanced strategies. You can definitely use your pet and kind of bait them into trading with you. Most witches, what they do is they cast their two super armors first, which I'm not even gonna lie, it deals a hella damage, dude. It just chunks
Yeah.
you. But once they get those two skills off, just for them to, while they're waiting for the cooldown, they typically use gore roll. And what I like doing in this situation is I like teleporting in first and positioning my pet behind them, and then casting a bolide and letting it linger. And what that does is it entices them to, oh, this guy's trading. You know what? Let's trade with this guy. And when they do go roll, bam, they're stiffened.
I feel like against really good witches, though, if you do any bolide or cataclysm super armor, they'll just instantly slow you. Like this is true with the witch and wizard matchup.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, but definitely
and
getting your pet behind them and hitting them in their gore roll, which I've done a lot of times, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good method. And
Yeah.
the thing, like, I just want to talk about quickly is walking up and trying to grab a witch. Is that yes, you can mount. Well, you kind of have to look out for a lot of skills, right? Because even you have to look out for Voltaic mainly, right? Want to block that. But even then, people say you can, like, if they're doing thunderstorm, you can just walk up and grab them, right, Grooved?
You can, but if they BSR,
Yeah.
then you're still gonna get
Yeah,
stunned.
so if they use their 50% BSR, that has a stun attached to it, and it's a relatively fast. And this stun, like I tried, it goes through your chilling wave. Actually, everything goes through your chilling wave, so it doesn't matter. But
Yeah, don't even use chilling wave.
yeah, well,
Yeah. What you can do though is, again, just
yeah,
based off of like the concept that you can either to fight witches effectively, you cannot trade, which means you cannot be in mid range with them. You either have to be super long range or really close quarters.
yeah.
We've talked about the range one. As far as closing the distance, you always have your option of teleporting in and grabbing.
I
Against higher level witches, though, what I like doing is I like doing measured teleports. And the reason why I do this is because, again, you just give them this. You just make them think that they're safe because they are not within single teleport distance into grab.
yeah,
They think that, oh, if he teleports, he's going to be behind me. I'm going to be fine. I can react. But if you cancel it, like midway or like 3/4 of the way, it typically catches them by surprise. So I definitely would practice that if you want to
and
just specialize in that.
yeah. Just to go over quickly, I feel like, with my ping especially, I find it very difficult to walk up and try to grab a witch. Just because a lot of times, even though I am S blocking, I still get floated or CC'd, right? Like, I I don't know. It's just that's part of the reason why I have so much trouble um doing stuff like that. So definitely. But if you have lower ping, dude, if you can play like every input you place in the game is like almost instant. You can definitely do that more reliably, right, without getting CC'd.
Definitely. Here, let me give you an example of a measured teleport against the witch, dude.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. So, Rujinx, is there anything you want to add to this before we move on to Wizard?
Um, I would say that trying to like stray away from relying on grabbing the witch wizard matchup is a good idea, especially because they can stack resistances and make it really inconsistent for you to grab them.
Yeah, I mean, I found that out. Is essentially if the witch builds KD resistance, it's very hard for you to get ahead in that matchup because oftentimes you like land one CC and you can't do a follow up CC and then just end up getting up. And oftentimes, if you grab them and you don't land a KD, you need to like get out of there because as soon as the witch gets up, you just take, right? And you're in a pretty bad spot. So definitely, like you guys both, you fought witches that build resistance, and they have a lot of resistance from the Q block as well. That's 15% for 5 seconds, right? Is it
Yeah.
against all resistance? Yeah. So, but your tip, Rujinx, is essentially play more of the ranged game against the witch.
Um. Yeah, relying on your pet because, like you said, if they build KD resistance, especially, trying to CC them normally as you would any other class isn't as reliable, and they can easily punish you with their faster casting range.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
So, trying to rely on skills to CC that aren't easily punished, like the pet stiff, is how you become more consistent in this matchup.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I think
just
so.
yeah, just like to summarize it, like any if an average wizard is fighting an average witch, the wizard would just kind of roll over the witch, right?
I don't think so.
No.
If the wizard just tries to trade, I think
Well,
the wizard would
I
take
mean,
them
if the
out.
witch doesn't know how to respond to a wizard teleporting and grabbing her, like very average players, it's
Um,
all right.
I don't
You
know.
feel
I
like
feel
it's
like
fifty
a lot of
fifty.
that matchup at the average level is up to luck at that point.
Yeah.
Yep. I think so
So you
too.
think it's like pretty much even?
Yeah, it really
I
depends
think
on like
so.
the game
Okay.
mechanics.
And let's say like you talking about really skilled witches and wizards fighting each other, and what would you say this matchup would be like?
I still think it's 50-50. Like the skilled witches that I've seen, that I've fought, um, especially when they play more aggressive, because they have a few things that they have better, right? Aside from trading, first off, they have a better engage when they teleport. So, for example, if they uh, do a teleport engage and they mouse move it where you don't know where they're gonna land, their WF skill, their awakened range poke, is just a faster
Yeah,
engage compared to any skill that you can cast after teleport.
yeah.
And also on
Just
top of
about that
that,
quickly is that essentially if they wind up their pet Stiffen and then teleport, right? And then they do their WF. You have to teleport, or yeah,
you have the super armor.
or yeah. Or if you super
Yeah,
armor,
but
they'll
just to
often
let you
just slow
know,
you, right?
just to let you know, their
Yeah,
pet Stiffen isn't really as long of a wind up compared to the water one. The Tet, which is a lightning, that one has the same cast time as our Marge, whatever that fire
yeah,
pet.
Mark. Yeah.
Fat.
Okay, cool. And their equivalent Mark basically teleports them on top of you with a Stiffen. Um, yeah. Okay. Is that about it for Witch? Very
Pretty
RNG
much.
matchup.
You can reduce the RNG, but
Yeah, you
like
put in Cuban with 2 KD resistance and reduce the RNG that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, what are you saying, Rujinx? Yeah.
uh I, I don't really know. Like on paper, Wizard should win this matchup the majority of the time, but which does like has some control over the matchup with just how much pressure they apply to our protection.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay. Cool. All right, so let's move on to Wizard. Talk about this quickly. I bet most all of us have pretty good insight into this matchup, and more essentially, we'll just go through each of your playstyles. So, Grief's playstyle, fighting against other wizards, and Rujinx's playstyle. So, I don't know whoever wants to start.
You should start, Jackie.
I should start? Okay. So my playstyle fighting other wizards is essentially really I wanna initially start off trying to find a catch from ranged, right? And the good way of doing this is rotating between your ranged CCs and your WC front guard swap and try and link that. And you should really look out for opportunities to land a slow on your opponent with Retardano. The skill is extremely strong, so if you see them casting a Bolide Cataclysm, this is your opportunity to slow them. And after that point, I really try. If I have them slowed, I'll go fully aggressive on them, and I'll start throwing out all my range CC and try to blow their teleport. And once they blow their teleport, they're very open to being grabbed, right? Um, Another thing is that essentially in this matchup, um, it's a lot. So it's like when Grief said the player who plays more defensive usually comes out on top, right?
Yep, definitely.
Okay, and yeah. So I try to. I don't know. Grief says I should play more aggressive, but inherently my playstyle is more reactive. So I like to go aggressive sometimes, but I feel like, sometimes I just get punished too much if I go fully aggressive. But it is fun going aggressive. So I Grief can kind of talk about his aggressive playstyle on Wizard against Wizards.
I mean, you fought me like in different stages. This is something that you would know as well, because
Yeah.
you fought me in different stages. When I first joined Black Rose, I was more of like a defensive player, like definitely more but as time goes, the more tricks you have up your sleeve, and I guess the more you play the class, the more you play certain matchups, you just become more ballsy, like naturally. And I honestly think, I mean, as far as like wizard duels go, if you're playing to not lose, I think you're doing it wrong. It's my opinion, but and so what I try to do is, instead of like capitalizing on people's mistake, I want to do that. I want to make the first move. I want to bait them out. I want to teleport in first.
Yeah, you want to have fun,
And
right?
I mean, I think that's what's fun. If some
Yeah.
people find it fun where they never lose, then yeah, sure, that's fine as well. But at least that's just my thing. And so against wizard versus wizard matchups, I try to range poke first. I always try to range poke first, expend my teleport first. And this goes heavily, like, this just is very reliant on a lot of things. This is something that we've talked about way back then as well, Jackie. When you ask like how you can make your range poke better, I told you got to do that dance where after casting a range skill, you do the WC instantly, and there's a certain rhythm depending on which skill you cast, so that you can do it right. That's one way of doing it. You can pretty much bait people from that. And the reason why WC is important is because it doesn't have that post block animation compared to your S block, where once you get hit, you kind of do that like back,
Yes.
and like I don't know, like that back pedal kind of like animation.
Yep.
Also, another thing that I like doing is, and this is something that I've showed you as well, and that you have seen work, is before I start raining range pokes on you, which is very risky and unprotected, I try to cast my pet stiffen first and then range pokes from there. So just in case I do get caught, there's a chance that you get stiffened and won't be able to, unleash a full combo.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of creative ways that you can fight against fight the matchup wizard versus wizard. There's a lot of engages. You have teleport into Earth's response. You have teleport into grab. I also, one personal thing that I like doing, but I kind of stopped doing it, is I call it the wizard block jump, really, where I cast cast meteor, and when someone teleports in, when a wizard teleports in to grab me, I teleport back to place and then counter grab them instead.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So there's just a lot of tools, a lot of fun tricks that you can do with the wizard. One thing that you should definitely know against the matchup, because since you're a wizard, you should know this, that wizards have a lot of super armors, which can be heavily punished by the retardando, since it goes through retardando.
Yeah.
And good wizards will always punish super armors.
And mana drain too, right?
Mana drain just applies a slow.
Yeah.
Movements.
Yeah.
But you can retardando, and not a lot of wizards have this because they follow guides, and a lot of people would say, yeah, use the Swift Earthquake. But what you can do instead is you can use the Trembling Thunder, which is the other Shift Zero bomb. And this applies the Elemental Lightning Slow, which is another 25%.
Okay.
Which means you can potentially stack slows if
I'm gonna
you
switch
wish
it
to
over
really
to
try.
that because I use Earthquake instead of Swift Earthquake to pull mobs in Hystra. But yeah, that's an interesting point. Thanks for that, Grief. Yeah. Yeah. So all right, let's go, Rujings. You quickly talk about your playstyle against other wizards.
Yeah, mine is more about looking for gaps or creating gaps. I don't really like to waste my teleport first because I like to keep it as like a tool to use to abuse their movement.
Yep.
So let's say, for example, you're trying to trade ranged abilities. I'll usually just straight up block most of it and just wait for them to burn their cooldowns. And I'll set up to go for another ranged engage within the next like 3-4 seconds. Because then they'll have all their cooldowns, like, or their skills will be on cooldown, and then I'll just win that trade, and then they'll be forced to do like a TP away, and in that case, I just chase them and win.
Yeah. So usually the Witcher wizard that expends their teleport first usually loses, right?
Pretty
Essentially.
much. If they're both highly skilled, like at the top level where they can control their mouse movements consistently 100% of the time, the person who teleports first always loses.
Yeah, and this is because the person that teleports second can reposition wherever they want, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So is that about it? Or that was
Yeah,
it?
nothing in particular that I do.
Yeah. Yeah, so you like to play more reactively? And
Yeah.
okay, cool. All right, so okay, let's go on talking about Striker. Do you guys want to talk about Striker and Mystic together, or you'd like to split them apart, or?
Um,
Yeah, they're two very different classes.
Okay, let's
Very
talk
different.
about Striker first then. So we'll talk about what to watch out for on a Striker when they're engaging you, right? As a wizard on a wizard.
So first thing to know, just for those two classes, is they have the ability to dash 4 times without expending their shards. In total, they can even dash, I think, 7 times towards you. So their gap closer is not an issue at all. One thing to know about them though is they have very little control as far as like their dash. Their dash is about the distance of our staff teleport,
Yep.
which means it's the same thing where if they dash too far, they won't be able to instantly grab you. So most wizards that, or most strikers that I play against that are really skilled, stay either super far away, or stay super close range. And one thing to know about Striker is that they have a lot of super armor skills, and they can trade pretty well against wizards actually. So I would definitely keep that in mind, so that if you want to sneak in a shift Q or like a retardondo in there, you'll be able to slow them.
Yep.
Another thing to know with them as well is they have in their pre-awaken kit, they have the ability to linger super armor forever, in which your only counterplay really is going to be the and strikers that play super passive, where they just linger super armor, wait for you to grab, and then kind of like dash to the side with their iframe, then grab you from there. I don't think there's a counterplay for wizards, honestly. And most of their movement for close gap, closing the gap, is all protected. For this, I would definitely do some funky stuff. The first thing is, again, abuse their super armors, just slow that. Another thing that I would do is use your pets kind of like as a tool to sandwich them. Most of the time it doesn't work because they rely on super armors and forward guards, and this is a matchup where it, like the strategy I mentioned, where once you get grabbed, you can precast your pet Stiffen and kind of like catch them while they're comboing you. This shit does not apply for Striker because their grab is really long. It's protected, and then the preceding skill that they use right after, which is the leg drop, is also protected.
Yeah.
So it's a very hard matchup compared
And
to Mystic.
yeah, and they use this when you after you get grabbed. So it's just essentially your pet Stiffen won't save you from any their combos, right?
Nope,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Strikers, when they're dashing at you, most of that is super armor, correct? Or
all of it is.
all of
All of
it?
them are super.
So
The first one is
it's
an iframe, and
yep.
then the preceding ones are super armor.
Okay, and it's important that while they're dashing at you in super armor, that you must slow them with your bubble, right?
Yeah, or you can always just attempt to teleport to place and counter grab. Risky,
Yeah.
but it may.
Yeah, like okay, yeah. Right. Ridgings, you want to say anything about Strike? Or?
Um, Probably the most important thing that I had to practice to get better at the striker matchup is maintaining the gap,
Yes.
because striker will only realistically catch you with 4 skills, 2 of which are grabs, the other 2 are melee range. So if you constantly keep about a hellfire distance away from them, you won't get CC'd basically.
Yeah. So one of that is like a float kick, right? That they have. Somersault kick.
They kick and then they stun you, I think. And
Okay.
it's AoE.
Cool.
And it's super armor.
Yeah. Okay, please continue, Ridgings. Yeah.
So in order to counter their gap close, which is really fast, I tend to use teleport last as a last resort, but I do the staff movement combo where I do a magic evasion into an earth's response into another magic evasion, and then I'll usually do like a C swap into Hellfire WW, and then
Yep.
I'll react to the striker from there. But I use those combos separately as well, just to like just always keep that gap there. And if they ever get too close, I'll use pet stiff and then TP.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I think those are some good tips about Striker. Is there anything else you want to cover in relation to Striker?
Wolf's Frenzy.
Yep.
You know, when they do their Wolf's Frenzy, it is
The
I think
iframe, right?
invincible when they're disappeared, and they're super armor when they're showing.
Okay.
So definitely not something that you can kind of just grab. It's very unlikely you'll be able to grab this. But one thing I like doing is if they ever do that Wolf's Frenzy on you, and this can work, as someone has showed me, make sure you are close enough to your pet where in which they kind of like bounce back and forth between you and your pet.
Yep.
And then I think they disappear 7 times, I think.
But
And
okay.
you just gotta time it and try to aim your freeze or your range KD towards the pet.
All right. So Wolf's Frenzy on Striker still has a CC, right?
I don't think so. I think it's a skill right like that they
Or
use right
did
now.
they
But I'm not
remove it so it's only PvE? Or was that Mystic?
The change that I remember was that Mystic got their iframe fixed, not the CC.
Oh, okay.
So basically, Mystic's version was stronger because even if they appeared, they would still be an iframe.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Do you guys want to move on to Mystic now?
Yeah, we can.
Yep. All right. So, think my experience with Mystics, I don't think it's that good because most of the time it's just fighting PvE ults in Hysteria, and it's really, I guess, if you're fighting a Mystic that doesn't know the class that well, it's basically not. It's not. It's a pretty easy matchup for you as a wizard, but I guess I want to ask you guys, what's your experience in terms of fighting more experienced and good Mystics, right? On your wizard.
You can go first.
The Mystics I've fought that like actually PvP, a lot of them just know how to deal with our range pressure more.
Yep.
Like the Hysteria ults that you see most of the time like to use their Spiral Torpedo, and that's unprotected.
Yeah.
But the better Mystics know how to like manage the pressure and like just rotate their guards and gap close
Yeah.
to
And
grab.
Lingo their super armors and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
The way I fight them though is like basically the same way I fight strikers, where I just I try to keep that gap so they never grab me.
Yep.
It's also hard to do that when they have their suck, in which case I usually burn my double teleport for that.
Yep. I don't know. I find sometimes I can't teleport out of the suck. Right. You guys ever had?
I get stuck in it if I only use one teleport. If I use the double teleport, it'll pull me out.
Ah, okay. So that's
so
important.
just let you know, like their suck. Since I have played like Mystic briefly as well, their suck actually has a cast animation. It's not like a thing where they just place it on the ground and they can move away from it. There is some short period of time where they can do that, but what I can do or what you can do is if you get stuck, you pretty much just like S block it, right? And towards the end of it, like the first half of it, right, you just block, and then the second half, that's when you teleport, and that's how you get away from it.
The other thing that's important about that suck is that the Mystic can kind of cancel that ability, right?
The suck?
Yeah, they can like do something quickly and just quickly grab you.
Oh yeah, I mean they can do that, but they don't. It still has a cast animation. It's not like instant where they just put something on the ground and it's.
Yeah, but overall, you'll say Striker's the tougher matchup out of these two, right?
Definitely tougher matchup. Mystics who fight you again, like these are classes where their dashes are a certain distance and they cannot just dash. Like they want to be able to dash at a certain distance so that when they dash right next to you in grab distance.
Yeah.
Most Mystics that I fight that are really good, they keep their distance really long, or like super long range, or super close range. And Mystics, just to let you know, also only has one grab, which means if you manage to bait out that grab
What's the
example,
cooldown of
if
that grab? Do you know?
I can check on my character.
Okay.
If they miss that grab, you'll know because they kind of like go towards you and then they dash back, like they do like one step back immediately. Then right after that, you have like a good like I think 8 or 9 seconds to be able to like just like trade with them.
Hmm.
And I can tell you this: if you trade with them, you typically can't out trade them. They
Well,
don't really have that
okay.
much burst, and
Yeah,
despite having 10% more damage reduction, they
against
still
magical
can get
damage
chunked.
reduction. Yeah.
Yep, they can still get chunked.
Okay. And the main thing about mystics and strikers is more the DP than the AP, right? Like, if you have trouble one comboing a mystic or striker, the matchup just comes incredibly more challenging.
For sure, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay. Cool. Any last points about mystic?
No.
All good. All right. We're nearly done here. We'll just have DK and Archer to cover. So let's talk about DK. I'm sure both of you have fought some really good DKs. I have less experience, so yeah.
I played DK as my main for 2 months.
Yes. So reaching. Yep.
So I'll start. So when you're fighting a DK, their main way of killing you is through chip damage, right?
Yep.
They have their Shattering Darkness where they drop the swords, and their Seed, which is unprotected but has a CC and tons of damage. They'll try to chunk you through your super armors with that, and also break your block.
Yeah. Does Seeds also have a debuff on it, or?
No, that's their Spirit Bomb thing.
Okay. Yep.
But basically, the way they play is they try to kite you and just chip you down, and they do it a little more effectively than Sork, I'd say.
For sure. Yep.
They just do less damage during.
Um.
So one of the best ways I find to counter them is by taking advantage of the fact that they don't have a lot of CCs. So at range, their only CCs are their little shadow bullet thing,
Yeah, it's a stiffen.
Yep.
and also the seed, which is also a stiffen.
The
But
shadow
they can
bullet.
barely follow up though.
The shadow bullet is really fast animation, right?
It also puts them in iframe for a short bit.
Oh, okay. And is this skill on relatively low cooldown?
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, no worries. But essentially you can't if you can't trade. So their CC will hit yours before yours hit them at range, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way I try to catch them is when they're doing Shattering Darkness, it's only a frontal guard without CC. So in that time, I like to gap close on them with just walking up to them, just taking the damage and gap closing.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I will wind up a pet stiff on them while I'm walking up and basically just try to force them to kite me. Like they'll kite you on their own, but by moving closer to them, it makes it easier for them to do so, and you want them to, right?
Yeah.
Because then your pet will hit them from behind during one of their frontal guards, which is their main uh trading abilities, like the big spirit bomb.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Cool. And DK's unawakened kit. Let's talk about that real quick. Like, what they have apart from wheel and stuff like that.
There's the short cooldown wheel, like you just said. It's a super armor float.
Yep.
It has a very small gap at the end if they don't iframe fast enough.
Okay.
So you might be able to catch someone with that if you have better ping. Lunacy is another one. It's like wheel, but instead of a float, it is a bound.
Yep.
So those two, they will try to trade with you and or catch you. But other than that, most of their pre-awaken is just used for comboing. They have slanted balance, which is a frontal guard float,
Yep.
and they have their version of nightmare. for like Sork.
Ah, okay, I see. Yeah. Is it their version of Nightmare? How is it? Any describe how the skill works, or
So when they cast it, they'll kind of like bring their sword into the middle of their chest,
yes?
and they'll disappear kind of like Sork.
Yep.
It says that the skill's supposed to be super armor, but a lot of the times they get CC'd out of the start.
Okay. Is this
When
the one where they teleport behind you, or
Yeah, that's one of the options they have. They can either teleport behind you, which won't apply a CC, but it'll debuff you,
okay?
or they can dash backwards into a frontal guard.
That floats
A
you,
lot.
doesn't it? Or
It does not float you. It just puts up their block.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Really good DKs will use that. Will use that. It's called Nocturne. They'll use Nocturne in front of you and then dash backward behind you so that they don't get stuck in that animation where they slash you.
Right. Yeah. And multi does that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, both of you have fought multi before.
Yep. It showed a clip.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So in general, like just to overview again, what would be like 3 points of advice? You would give wizard finding a DK 1v1.
Take advantage of the fact that they don't have CCs. So like throw a lot of your own
Yep.
to pressure their blocks. Contrary to popular belief, they don't have infinite iframe, but they do have infinite protection.
Okay.
So yeah, just again spam range. If make sure they're not close enough to get an airstrike on you though. I don't think I mentioned that. They have that instant gap close that floats and then bounds on the
Yep.
second hit as well.
Yep.
That is unprotected, so most of them will not try to use it on a wizard, but if you're range poking too much, they will use it.
Hmm. Okay. And
But
yep.
it animation locks them, so if they do it to the side of you, you can react quickly with a CC of your own.
Right. Yep. And well, this is another thing is like when you get hit by that DP or evasion debuff, you really can't trade with them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What was that skill called? Was the DP and evasions debuff skills again?
Their evasion debuff is called Trap of Vidir. It's where they jump backward and leave a little trap on the floor where after a certain amount of time it'll pop up and stun you, or
Yep.
apply an evasion debuff if you didn't get CC'd.
Okay. Cool. So what about the DP, DR one? Sorry.
It's their
it's a
big
range
spirit bomb.
Yep. Spirit bomb. Okay. Cool. All right. So that's pretty much it about DK.
Grief.
Depends on your playstyle, really, dude. Again, I like playing ballsy. I like playing like lingering super armor into a grab.
Yep.
I find that to be quite effective against some DKs where when you linger a super armor, they know that they can kind of like trade you, which they will. And if they do, you're going to take more damage than them. And you can pretty much just like grab them from there. And if ever you miss the grab, it's either you get CC'd because they do that protected skill that has a float. So it's possible you can get floated first, or you could just teleport out if you ever miss it and just like super armor trade again.
Okay.
Most good DKs though will kind of trade just like frontal guards for your super armors, and most of the time they will win trades because of that. And I say I like to just like close the gap and with a Hellfire into WW, and then cast pet and just like randomly mouse to move, hoping they get caught. Because
Yeah.
if you do put them between you and the pet, most of their range stuff is either unprotected or just forward guard.
Yeah.
I
Okay. Cool.
believe they don't have any range super armor.
Yep. Okay. Confirm that. Can you confirm that, Rujings? Or
Yep.
okay. Cool. All right. Awesome. Let's go on to the last class here, which is Archer. I believe this is one of our easiest matchups, right? Played correctly. So guys, Rujings or Grief want to quickly talk about Archer before we finish up.
Yeah, Grief can talk.
Um, I don't know which archers you guys have been fighting, but this is, I think, like a quite a difficult matchup if you fight like a really, really highly skilled archer that knows how to kite and knows how to super armor rotate if you ever get close to them.
Yeah.
But we'll split it. I guess if you're talking about average to slightly above average skill
yeah.
levels, it's one of those classes where you can just keep teleporting in and keep range, keep like super armor trading, and they will lose. They don't have a grab. They're very squishy, and they'll just lose that fight, right? However, if you fight like bigger and bigger siege guild like archers, most of them do know how to kite, and they will always try to keep you out of. They'll try to keep out of your staff skill
Yeah.
distance.
Yeah.
That makes sense because
But-
they have a longer skill, like
Yeah.
longer skill range.
I feel like for all these classes, like if you're talking about like obviously if they're skilled, it's gonna be every matchup in here. I would say, apart from which maybe you're fighting like if both of you are really skilled opponents, you're not really expected to go positive against them, right? And you at the same skill and gear level, right? Against
I
majority
think
of
so.
these classes in here on a 1v1 basis.
Probably except for like Meiwa, and yeah, I think that's about. I don't think of any other classes that you can fight like quite easily.
But essentially, what you're saying is if an archer knows how to cut your engages properly and try to catch you out of your protection, it's can be a pretty tough matchup, right?
Yeah, the thing I like, well, there's a few ways you can deal with an archer, right? Let's just talk about like the most obvious one. The most obvious one is if you fight a really skilled archer, you can just cheese, you can just remain in pseudo super armor, casting range skills that have CCs, and you will catch them and they will die.
Yeah.
However, if you choose not to do that, there are also some ways where you can catch them, and this typically only works. I don't know if you have noticed this, but their skills that have forward guards and protection typically push them back.
Okay. Yep.
So what I like to do is, for example, I am in like start of the duel, right? What I like doing is, since the pet and I are like kind of like close to each other, I like having them hit me first, and that way my pet starts running towards them.
Okay.
And I usually use my water pet for this. And what I like doing is, whenever I think it's kind of safe to do it, I use my pet Stiffen against them, and during the windup, I double teleport towards the other side. In most cases, I don't even try to mouse to move it. I want them to know where I am going, so that they try to just forward guard right where right where I am, and
Yeah.
pet gets them from
That's
behind.
that's a nice advice. Or that's really helpful, dude.
That's gonna be the only real legitimate way you can find them.
I feel like the skill media is extremely strong against archers as well.
Too bad it's a 20-second cooldown.
Well, which is up a lot of times in a 1v1. I feel like basically every duel you have that up, unless you just instantly killed.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that's the only thing that you can really do if you're fighting a really good archer and you choose not to use the exploit. That's the only thing you can.
And another thing is, gotta take note. Same with ranger and archer, they build KD resistance in their boots, right?
They do. When I sold, he was running that, and so what I did was I bought a tricutum off of the market and I put double KD resist, ignore resist.
Yeah.
Hey man, he said that like the way I fought him was really boring, but hey, I mean, I'd much rather do that than exploit in
I feel like in general the wizard against archer is pretty boring, right? matchup?
Well, again, especially like Stolen. Stolen's like really highly skilled, right? So
I
even if you were to teleport in super armor,
I
you're
yeah.
just gonna,
Well, I don't know when
fight back
I
again.
was fighting Solon, dude. He'll always charge up that really long range ability, which is like a super armor, and I just slow him with a bubble. And I'm not sure if slowing Archer helps that much, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, their wind up is like super armor,
Yeah.
which most of their skills are like when they tumble back and forth, they can like you can like
Yeah.
slow
So,
them.
do you feel like it's useful to slow Archer?
Yeah, but I guarantee you, if you cheese against an archer, they're not gonna win.
Yeah, if you do it correctly. Yeah. Because you're either gonna
Yup.
break their frontal, their block, or you're
Or
just
you're
gonna
gonna
CC
CC
them.
them
Yeah.
first. Yep. You
Okay.
have more range CCs. Mage, like I don't think there's any other class that has more range CCs than mage. Try to count it, dude. We have freeze.
Well, which has the
Stiffen,
same?
fireball. Yeah, that's why I said.
Yeah. Which? What about? Wait. What Archer wouldn't? You say Unawakening or?
On what?
Yeah. Anyways. Okay. So Rujinx, you want to add anything to this matchup or?
No, Grief kind of went over everything.
Okay. Cool. All right. So I think that's pretty much summarizes everything. It's been how long has this been going for? Like nearly 3 hours. Wow.
Nah,
Almost.
2.5.
Yeah, dude, time goes by fast. So I'd like to thank Grief and Rujinx very much for dedicating their time to help out the BDO wizarding community. Do you guys have any last minute words or any last important one tip or one point of advice you would like to give all the wizard players out there?
When you think you've mastered everything, there's always something you can learn. There's always
Yeah,
something you can improve on. This class has like an insanely high skill ceiling, surprisingly.
definitely. Okay, how about you, Grief?
To the wizards out there, although I do not, I'm not against like using the cheese on this. Right? Definitely try to improve, like just like other skills, because wizard is one of those classes that have a lot of tools and you can be crafty with it as far as like engages and catching opponents, and I can guarantee you it's very satisfying winning against a class that you're expected to lose against.
Yep.
And uh, as as Rudnix has said, this class, although it has a very low skill floor, it's easy to get into. It also has a really high skill ceiling,
Yep.
and it's what like I find it where like Wizard's weakness is where like what makes it fun.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
just
Yep, I definitely agree with that. Wizard may seem like a very simple and basic class on the outside, but really there's so many mechanics, in-depth mechanics that a lot of people are unaware of, and that's what really separates like the average wizards to the good wizards, right? Yep.
yep.
Okay. Cool. So I think that basically covers around about everything we want to cover today in terms of the 1v1 matchups. I'm really happy with the information that we have received today. And again, I'll just thank you, final thank you to our guests. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this kind of like podcast slash 1v1 guide. And yeah, hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
All right, hello. My name is it. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. So, yeah, feel
All
free to
right.
introduce yourself, Lockman. Yeah.
All right. My name is Ogmer. I am a wizard in BDO, and yeah, I love 1v1ing. My gear's kind of crappy, but it doesn't really stop me. So that's basically me.
Yeah.
And so Jackie wanted me to come in and give my personal um like thoughts on how I or like what I do to fight X classes in BDO. So I'm gonna start with let's start with Musa. I think that in general, non-grab classes are a pretty good matchup for Wizard. Um, you really want to be careful. Well, it depends. If they have a lot of gear, then you have to play a bit riskier because you want to be trying to rotate your TP basically as soon as you can. TP, get a heal off, and then be ready for them to attack you again. And the whole time you want to just be fishing for CCs via using the pet CC, or I think Earthquake is an excellent skill to CC non-grab classes because
Yeah,
you're locked in place, you're in a super armor, and it just spams stiffs. So that
I
skill is very good, I think, against classes like that. Um, Although I think it can be a bit risky using it against Musa, like given the nature of Musa's
I
like
yeah, I feel like sometimes when I use Earthquake against Musa in their awakened form, I like the amount of damage they do, and if they know how to
yeah,
play around an Earthquake, it's very dangerous for
yeah,
me.
yeah. I think I kind of take it back, but sometimes you could use Earthquake against Musa. Like I would do it if you have your teleport up, because then you can animation cancel the
Yeah,
Earthquake
yeah.
with a TP. So that's a good thing to keep in mind, I think. Um, Also, I do admit I play with the frontal guard bug basically in every single matchup except other mages unless they're doing it as well. So there's that going forward. So when I fight Musas, I really like to try to keep that frontal super armor or guard up at all times. It really opens up a lot of opportunities in terms of movement. Like you can use it on your dashes or um getting some CCs out or just throwing out the pet CC safe because
Yep.
that's, in my opinion, one of the strongest CCs that Wizard has.
So, let's talk about like Dragon Bite. I don't know if you're D-Bite, one of
Oh, T-Bite, yeah.
yeah,
So that's probably Moose's best engage skill if they use it correctly.
yep.
Um, I know of some Mooses that freaking like will mouse move it behind you, and it can
Uh,
get pretty insane. So the way
s-
I deal with it is I don't know. I just try to predict when they're going to do it, kind of like keep that mental note in my head of
yeah.
when they last used D-Bite, and then throw out a super armor.
So when they're dashing towards you in unawakened stance, most likely they're gonna go for a D-Bite, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And what is the cooldown on D-Bite?
I don't remember. I think
Uh,
it's like 9 seconds.
yeah,
I
well
think
we
it's 9.
can check later. So, and it goes through frontal guards relatively easily. So if you're S blocking,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that catches me a lot of times. So.
Mm-hmm. Um, Another thing for Meiwas, definitely want to be cautious grabbing around Meiwas because Red Moon just destroys you if you grab out of just out of super armor.
Yeah,
If you're using the frontal bug, then you can get grabs off, but you still want to be careful because they're really fast. So
yeah. So,
sometimes you'll get hit in the back a lot.
so with Red Moon, the CC lands on the second or third hit, is it? Or
It constantly is just hitting. It's a CC every hit or every other
oh,
hit, I think. It's a
okay,
lot, so you just don't want to be unprotected anywhere at all when they do use a red moon.
yeah,
At least that's my experience of it. I feel like I get CC'd from red moons all the time.
yeah.
um, I think is there anything else you want to talk about
Um,
Musa Mewa
so,
wise?
so your playstyle, is it in terms of fighting a Musa and a Meiwa, is your
Mhm.
playstyle much different?
No, and when I fight Moose's more Meiwas, I will use the bug a lot less
Yeah,
I'm just because like when you use the bug, you're not your whatever. You can't be CC'd from the front, but you're still CC'able from behind,
yeah,
and that's the thing that Meiwas are really good at doing. So I tend to just super armor a lot more.
yeah. And also their range CC, so their bow shots. Let's talk about that for a bit.
Yeah, I would say I mean, generally, whenever a class is far away from me, I'm in the bug stance, so I don't really have a troubles with their bow shots.
Yeah.
Um, one thing to be careful for, I would say, is like right as you TP, if they've got like a good eye on you, they can actually snipe you like right as you get out of
Yeah.
TP.
But like basically, if you're not using the bug, it's not ideal to trade range CC with a Musa or Mayor,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. Try to if you're not using it, try to get your pet in between you and the Mewa, so it'll eat the shot.
Yeah. And Rabam Arrow does a lot of damage, especially at high APs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, okay. That's about good. Alright, let's go on next one. Next
All
matchup.
right. Let me see. Zerker. I like this one. This is one of my favorite matchups.
Yeah.
So for Zerker, you don't really need to use the bug, but one thing you do really need to do perfectly is get your TPs down.
Yeah.
It is really they have really open gaps and a lot of frontals, and their super armors on. I mean, their super armors are really easy to tell like which skills are their super armors, and they don't have a lot of moving super armors aside
And
from
they're on
one.
high cooldowns too, right?
Correct. So I like to save my TP until the Zerker does Lava Piercer. I don't know. It's the skill where he just turns glowing red and just starts sprinting at you.
Yep, I know what you're talking about, yep.
I do not TP unless he does that.
Okay.
Even like if they do like that mouse move like cannon shot and they'll like fly towards you,
Yep.
just try to hellfire or dash away.
Yep.
Because a lot of the time they won't just shoot out a CC. So dash away from their like cannon fly and teleport their lava piercer.
Okay.
And whenever they lava piercer at you for the grab, try to TP as soon as they are about to grab you, or as soon as you comfortably want, and then try to get a range CC off after they grab. That's how I deal with them. So
Yep. And slows are very strong against Zerkers, right?
yes, oh
Yeah.
yes, slows are so good against Zerkers.
Yeah, they are.
A slow is like almost a GG.
Yeah, because so if you land a retard dino on them, you can almost just play fully aggressive on them, just like teleport at them and try to grab them.
Yeah. Mhm. And all of this is coming from like an equal gear matchup. If you're fighting like extremely higher AP players than you are and they just outtrade you instantly, then you're gonna have to fight a bit differently
Yeah.
as well.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Is there anything else you want to cover about Zerka, or
Zerker. That's
what
like
else?
the main like CC I get off on
Oh,
them. Also,
let's talk
pet
about their
CC.
range CC.
Yeah, they have like a range stiff they can shoot out.
They need
But
to do the leg drop first, right? Or
I'm not exactly sure. All I know is they shoot out like a little like spitball at you that stiffs you for a second, but
yeah.
I do know that it's really hard for them to follow up on that CC
Yep.
unless they're close.
Well,
So if they CC you from far away, just don't worry about it most of the time.
yeah. There's also one for KD, right? What's that one called?
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't hit me often, so I don't really.
It's very telegraphed, right? You can tell it's very slow
Yeah.
animation.
I think they can instacast it when they ebuff, but don't
Yeah.
quote me on that.
Or yeah.
Oh
So
yeah, they can obviously.
yeah, but if they're not using their Q buff, right? And they try to cast that Billy off cooldown, which has a knockdown on it. Can you throw your water sphere out to because it's unprotected?
Your water seal, or I think frontally they're protected from behind they aren't,
Okay.
but they can still be slowed.
Yeah.
While they're ebuffed.
Yeah.
But still don't. I'm not like 100% like on exactly what Zerkers do. I just know kind of how to play it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in regards to the pet stiffen, when they have you grabbed, right, and doing a combo on you, is there the most of their damage combo when they have you grabbed or CC'd is unprotected, right? Or
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. So almost every time, unless they get you with a super armor, like one of their grabs that has like a long animation, the pet CC will usually hit them if they
Okay.
use their grab. But if they like blow you their E-grab and then get you with something else and your pet CC hits, then sometimes it won't CC them.
Yep. And that's another thing. Like if you have them slowed and they grab you with that long animation in super armor, that they can just wait it out until the bubble goes away or the slow goes away, and then
Yeah. I
yeah.
think if you get really good at the Zerker matchup as a wizard, fighting a lot of the other grab classes will come a lot easier to you.
Yep.
Whenever you fight a grab class as a wizard, you really, really want to be moving or kiting or doing something that gets you out of the way from their hands, because all the time I'll see a lot of wizards will just kata. I mean, which is like the normal wizard thing to do, but
Yeah.
they'll kata as a grab class is just charging them, and then they
Yeah.
just get killed.
Yeah.
I see that a lot, so just emphasis on moving around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Zerka has that 30% grab penetration, right? As
Oh
well.
yeah.
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 It's pretty insane. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Yeah.
Let's go on
So
next
I
class.
think
Yep.
that's a good all round for Zerker.
Yep.
Let's see. Let's do everyone's favorite Mystic Striker. A lot like
Oh
Zerker.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
definitely a lot more gear reliant too. I think the higher their gear is, the more oppressive they are.
Yep.
But at equal gear, I don't really think they're anything special. I think
So
they're worse Zerkers, in my
yeah,
opinion.
okay. So the thing with Mystic and Strike is that it's more the DP that matters, not so much. Like if you can one combo them, it's not an incredibly hard matchup, right? Like
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
Assuming you can't one combo them, I would say you want to be very cautious with your combos and don't get too greedy. Dash away, and if they if they try to ape grab you after you CC them, TP.
Yeah.
Um, again, emphasis on mobility, and they're really, really easy to TP juke and extra easy to get pet CCs off.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm fighting some strikers or mystics, every 6 seconds I'm throwing out a pet CC. So if you do that, I can assure you your KD against them will go up.
Yeah. So
And
yeah, you go.
oh, also lots of kiting and lots of slowing. And that's basically it from
Yeah.
me on those two.
So in terms of protected movement for Striker and Mystic, like how many safe engagements or dashes does each of the classes have? Like
Oh man,
I
I know that
yeah.
some of their engages, or a lot of their like movement skills when they just charge at you or ape at you, a lot of those are protected frontally. But
Yeah.
like I said, because if you have the pet position behind them, it's just constantly CCing them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So again, was it Mystic has one grab and Striker has 3 grabs, right?
Two.
2.
Striker is
Okay.
two.
Yeah. So one in awakened, one in unawakened.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I have a lot of experience fighting Mystics in history. I do for spots, but not so much Strikers.
Yeah,
But yeah.
strikers are a bit weird. I used to fight them a lot, back like when freeze combos were the thing to
Yeah.
do. But I don't know, it kind of just transferred over. So
But definitely out of Mystic and Striker, if you're talking about the average player, I definitely feel like maybe Striker's a little bit more challenging.
yes. Strikers, I think overall are a better mystic in the 1v1,
Yeah.
unless the mystic is like
And
Papega geared. But still, even with strikers with the same amount of gear, they're still better, I
yeah.
think.
The other thing about Strikers is when they have you grabbed and they're comboing, most of that is protected, right?
Yeah, and their grabs have the penetration, so
Yeah.
it's really hard to get resists on them.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
But as long as you're kiting and using your TPs correctly, it should be no problem.
So in terms of kiting and using movement ability, we're talking about using the back pedal. We're talking about using Hellfire, like putting your weapons away and sprinting around. That
So my favorite, like my cup of tea for movement would be to use the C swap bug and use the AD strafing
yeah.
because it gets a frontal on that or frontal SA when you do that.
Okay.
So I use that to kind of strafe sideways,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then I'll do Hellfire and I'll mouse move it behind me a lot
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
kind of just
Yeah.
like boost away,
Yep.
and then I'll obviously teleport mouse move behind you to like juke him out and whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
I did that against the Mystic once in Ballerina. The Mystic literally walked behind me and I just grabbed the Mystic. It was like, oh my god. But yeah.
yeah,
Alright.
but yeah, I don't really do the sprint away unless it's sometimes lawns. That's the only one I do it to.
You have to do that against Lance, huh?
Lawns. I mean, let's talk about lawn now.
Yeah,
Lawn
let's
is
talk.
ridiculous, in my opinion. Best 1v1 class currently.
Mm.
They're just insane. It's if you took like a Sork, a Musa, and a I don't know something with a grab and combined them all together into like Hell's monsters. So
Yeah.
the way I like fighting lawns is literally kite forever until you see them grab, and then try to get a slow off and just blow them up as fast as you can, and then after 9 seconds, just start kiting again.
Yeah. So the
That
key
is,
is you need to predict when they're about to grab you and really go aggressive when the grab's on cooldown, right?
yep. And
Yeah.
since their grab is directional, you kind of want to have like be in that kind of mindset of like which way is he going to grab so that you can dodge the grab.
Yeah.
Like literally, that's
Like
kind of what you have to
yeah,
do. If
let's
it's
talk about the lung grab and how broken it is, dude.
yeah, it's this matchup is so difficult. You have to play almost perfectly to win. If you mess up once, you're dead. So
Yeah.
I still kind of think it's a fun matchup sometimes if I'm like really having a good day, but for the most part, it's hell. And honestly, just avoid this matchup if you can.
So
Otherwise,
yeah.
just slow and strafe and pet CC constantly.
Yeah. So we can also talk a little bit about how broken the Lan's E buff is,
Oh,
and
I'm not even
so
familiar with it. I just know that they're
yeah.
insane and I
So
have
you
to get away
know
from
how
them.
Lan's side dash is on iframe, off cooldown,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. When they e-buff, can't they
so
just spam that
when they're E
forever?
buff, they spam that side dash and they're basically in permanent iframe,
Yeah, it's just
and no
ridiculous.
stamina too, and yeah, that's one of the main things. Yeah, dude, I've definitely had my run in with Lans in Hysteria stream sniping me, dude, and
Yeah,
it's really
it's
hard
pretty
to.
awful. I don't think it's possible to even become close to like going even with a lawn unless you're using the C swap bug on a wizard.
Yeah,
Um, I don't. It's such a difficult matchup. So, anyways, with that, I think that's all I have to say on lawn. I don't really. There's not many other strats that I've been able to use that have worked. So,
when most Lans engage you, right? Do they just fly towards you?
um, so the Papagalons will try to like fly and jump on top of me,
Yeah.
which works sometimes. But I
Okay.
think the really sneaky lawns are the ones that kind of stay mid range, and then they'll do like their really quick double dash and
Yeah,
then
that
grab you.
you have to teleport when they do that to
Yeah,
front double dash, right? There's like
yeah, and you have to be really fast, especially if the lawn has like low ping. It's
yeah,
just
that
absurdly hard.
their grab animation is really fast as well.
Yes, it's fast, it's ranged, and their movement is insane.
Yeah.
So,
So, what would you do if a lion was flying towards you?
so first things first, the second I say R, I'm dashing backwards, just
Yeah.
holding Shift and S, waiting for them to
Okay.
blow their movement, because I want them to use up as much movement as possible before I start attacking.
Yeah.
So, Duel, get out of the way. They're going to fly to you. I'm gonna try to use my Hellfire as a dash first,
Yep.
and then when all else fails, you use your TP.
Okay.
You want to save your TP like as like your ace to like it's like
Yeah.
your get out of jail free card basically.
Yep.
So
So when they're flying, just to reiterate, they're in super armor, right? And
yes,
when they land, it's KD.
it's a bound.
It's a bound. Okay. Right. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I think we covered LAN. Yeah. One of the hardest
I would say
matchups for
so.
Wizard.
The hardest in my
Yeah,
opinion.
the hardest. Yeah.
Close to Warrior.
Yeah.
I guess we can go for
But the
Warrior
thing
now.
is, I just last bit about LAN. How do you separate a good LAN with a average LAN?
I can't tell.
Yeah.
I can't really like.
Yeah.
I don't mind if you play lawn, but if you're like murdering everyone like every other lawn and being like, yeah, I'm the best lawn, or well, no, I'm sure there's good lawns NA
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I feel like if I played long, I would never really be satisfied because it's just so easy to kill people.
Yeah, it's a very easy class for doing that. Yeah, okay, let's go on to Warrior.
Warrior, a lot different from Valkyrie. So Warrior also very, very insane, fast, and instant grabs.
Yep.
I mean, I almost want to put Warrior above Lon just not like in terms of like how OP the classes are in general, but just in terms of how bad the matchup is for Wizard.
Yeah.
In terms of how bad it is for Wizard, it's really close to Lon, if not up there with it.
So, yeah, if a Warrior plays defensively, there's almost nothing you can do about it, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't let Warriors play defensively. I'll play more defensively, dude.
Yeah. So,
You don't want to give them an inch of like opportunity to CC you or grab you. Basically kind of like lawn, except well, not as much as lawn. I'll play it more like I play strikers or mystics, I would say.
Yep.
Like kind of kiting, but you don't need to get like ultra far away like on lawn. I like using the frontal bug and sideways dashing. It's gonna be a reoccurring thing for me at least.
yeah, yeah,
Just so you're moving sideways with a frontal guard basically. It's just like a dash to take stamina that every other class has. So I try doing that. I try to get the slow off, spam the pet CC, and I don't know. Sometimes fighting warriors are like getting a bit zany with grabs. Like I'll do the frontal block and start walking, and then try to get a good mouse move grab off or whatever. But
yeah.
really, really want to look out for their solar flare grab.
So let's talk about Solar Flare. Let's talk about
All right.
skill, what it does. Yeah.
The ult. All right. So it basically TPs the warrior to you. That's what
Yep.
it seems like to me, at least. The warrior just appears and stiffs you and then grabs you. It's
Okay.
almost instant. The
And
best way I've been able to counter it is first off, you want to use your red pet, like the big red ball dude.
yep.
And second off, you just want him in between you and the warrior because
Okay.
that fucks with the hitbox on
Yep.
Solar Flare. That's my tip from it. I mean, still shit happens in warriors, especially if they're good warriors or just insanely oppressive to wizards. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you can win a few duels, I'd say it's a win.
So yeah, definitely. And their block, they have a frontal guard super armor block, is it? Or
yeah, it's frontal from the front and then super armor from the
yeah.
back.
Yep. Which is like, I don't
It's
know.
pretty nuts.
It's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they're playing, if they block every time you try TP juking, you can basically never CC them whenever you teleport.
Yeah.
But like I said, you want to be slowing them because they're pretty Papega when they're slow. And then also just spamming pet CC. I
Okay.
think the pet CC is probably the best CC we have as mages. It's like a zero ping free CC that you get to use every 6 seconds. So
Yeah.
always just want to be using that.
Yep. Okay. Anything
Have-
else about warrior?
Nothing much about warrior. But you do play against Valkyries pretty much the same as you would warrior, just kite and pet CC, and they'll just die.
But Valkyrie is a much easier matchup than
Oh
warrior.
yeah, Valkyrie is just a much worse warrior.
Yeah.
So
They don't have much protected movement, do they?
no.
Valkyries.
As soon as you like start throwing out the pet CC, they can't really do anything.
Yeah. And they have that ranged area effect suction ability that they cast.
Just save your TP.
Yeah, so
when they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most likely after they do that, they will try to charge you and grab you or something.
Yeah. If they do that to you and you don't have your TP, then just pray that you resist the grab. So, other than that, there's not really much for Valkyrie, I have to say. It's the same as Warrior, just easier.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically with Valkyrie, they only have they have one protected dash, or
I couldn't tell you.
yeah,
I used to know what their kit did back when it was insane, but I have no idea now. All I know is that they're really bad at moving.
yeah, okay.
Let's do Kuno Ninja.
Yep.
Everyone's favorite oppressive class.
Yeah, I have a lot of trouble finding these two. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So again, I use the bug for these. I like to side dash. I like to pet CC. I like to slow. Although on Kuno Ninja, you don't get the slow often. Definitely more often on the Kuno if they do like their insane spin that just kills you instantly.
What's the delightful gust, or
I do not know the names for
yeah, was
either of these
that skill that
classes.
recently got buffed, right?
Yes. It's a
Yeah.
skill that life steals a ton. It's a super armor and it just does a ton of damage.
Yeah.
And it's like they just start spinning on you basically.
Yep.
So whenever they use that skill, that's a really easy opening to get a slow off. And if they're doing it on your face, you can slow them and then TP and be fine because it's not a CC.
Yep.
Although they can cancel it, so be aware of that as well.
Okay.
It's like a high risk, high reward thing. So, and like I said, again, you want to really be kiting, and you want to use the red pet for these as well because it screws with their block jump. You just want, in my opinion, I think the red pet is the best pet, just because it's always getting in the face of your opponent. It might be worse, arguably worse in mage versus mage duels, but in general, I think the red pet is superior just because of the nature of its like aggro, how it's just constantly getting in the face of everyone.
Yeah, it has a melee attack. It has a faster wind-up animation for the Stiffen.
Yep.
And it has a larger hitbox.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then yeah. So you just want to be using that dude, having him get in the face of them and getting nice TPs, because good mouse move TPs can really wreck those ninjas and Kuno's days. So keep that in mind as well.
What would you do after you mouse TP against the ninja Kuno?
So I would mouse TP and Water Sphere. I think Water Sphere is the most consistent KD. Has the biggest AoE also.
Yeah, it has the longest range.
Fastest travel. Yeah, longest range, nice travel time. I would use that.
Yeah.
Generally, my combo whenever I TP would be TP Water Sphere, Freeze, C Swap, Fireball. That's my ranged combo.
Okay. Yep.
So that's a Ninja Kuno. Is there anything else you want to touch up on those?
Let's talk about block jump.
Block jump? Like I said, red pet's there for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's not there and you get block jumped. So try to move around the pet. As long as he's just really close to you, you have a lot better chance of screwing with their block jumps.
And the ninja and Kuno can choose when they come out of block jump, or?
Yes, yeah, they can.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they can.
And so, apart from having your pet there when they do that ability, would you recommend would you teleport after they use that skill, or?
If I see them block jump, usually I do TP if I can react to it fast enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't though, unfortunately, so that happens. But generally,
Okay.
yeah, you want to try
But
saving your
yeah.
Like if you TP when they block jump, that's a win-win, I would say.
Okay. So when they're using block jump, it's basically they're going for the grab afterwards.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the time they do. Sometimes if they CC you, they'll just do a other combo, but
Okay.
yeah.
And skills.
Also,
Yeah, you go. Yeah.
no, wait, never mind. You go. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. And skills like Frigid Fog and Earthquake are good against Ninja Kuno, or
Yes,
yep.
excellent. Frigid Fog and Earthquake are just two excellent super armors to use in general.
Yep.
It's probably my two most used super armors. I hardly ever use Awakening and just standing up anymore.
What's the reason you don't use Awakening essays that much?
I use Awakening particularly for just damage combos,
Yeah.
unless I'm fighting non-grab classes. Then I'll just use the Awakening to rotate super armor.
Okay.
But for the most part, I'm not using my Awakening because I would prefer to use the time in Awakening to move instead of trade.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay.
do you have anything else on those two?
Ninja Kuno? Nah, I would be honest, I don't have that much experience fighting those two classes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's your pet is the MVP in those, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on
Oh,
to
just one thing. Is it
what?
and most of the skills Ninja has is mostly frontal guard skills, right? They're
Correct.
protected.
It's
So,
a lot of frontal
yeah,
protection. So
that's
getting
why
a
you say
slow.
the pet is so important.
Yep. And the slow is a bit less important on Ninja just because it rarely ever lands.
Yep.
One of the few gaps you can get it is when they do like a katana shower,
Okay, yeah.
but that's generally the only time I'll throw it out. I don't really waste it otherwise.
Okay. Yeah, that's about it. Yep. For Ninja
All
Kuno.
right, let's do Sorceress and DK. I'll mix them up together since they're pretty similar.
Yep.
Both iframe classes. DK is definitely worse, and yeah, Sork OP. Just kidding.
Wait, so you
Let's
say
see.
DK is a harder matchup than Sork, in your opinion?
If the DK has, well, no. I think in general the DK is easier than the
Yeah.
Sork overall.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
However, both of these classes with a ton of AP are really scary.
Yeah,
So,
like 280, 290 AP.
yes. In my opinion, if you're fighting them and they can't kill you in super armor, then you shouldn't really lose. All you really need to do is just continuously rotate SA,
Yeah.
TP, heal up, and just keep doing that until you CC them, and then go into a combo. Earthquake, Frigid Fog are like the first two super armors you want to be using, and basically you want to be using them every time they get off cooldown. On the Sork, on the DK, Earthquake can be a bit risky.
I feel like using Earthquake against Sorks who never get caught by it is also pretty risky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to kind of deter them. Like if the fight's been going on for a while and you can tell they have low stamina, you can tell this because a lot of the time they'll be blocking or like S walking
Yeah.
or like C swapping slowly. If you see them doing this, then you kind of want to try pressuring them a bit and then trying to get them close and then earthquaking.
Okay. And
Yeah.
basically mouse moving your super armors so that you don't get back attacks is also pretty important, right?
Yes, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to kind of talk about is transitioning between super armor stance and frontal guards to kind of try to get your front guard to block some of their big hits.
Yeah.
Um,
So the way I do that is through the bug. I don't think that Wizard has any good frontal guards besides the bug.
yeah,
They're too slow. They're inconsistent, and like for example, when you S block and you take damage, you have like this weird like stuttering animation,
yeah,
and it doesn't really. It's like a really tiny bit of like a delay, but it's there, and sometimes you'll just get CC'd. Like if you stutter a bit and then they get to your side, it just will like you won't be able to cast a super armor because you're stuttering, if
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
So for that reason, I prefer using the frontal guard block, and I'll try to tank with that a bit, and then I'll TP or switch back to super armoring.
Yep. And it can be dangerous to stay in front guard, block too long against the Sork or DK, or at least good ones. They'll
Mhm.
instantly just use the CC, get behind it.
Yeah, especially like the high AP ones. A lot of the times you just want to use your guard for like a second because it'll be broken after that,
Yeah,
just like to absorb a hit and then go back to super armoring.
yeah,
But at that point, you kind of want to be concerned more about TPing and healing as fast as you can before they continue like destroying you. So
yeah. And another thing about Sork is that you want to try to lay down lava pool around you when you're fighting them.
does that screw with them?
Well, they take a lot of dot damage.
I see.
Yeah,
I generally save my lava pool for comboing.
yeah, but against Sork, I mean,
Yeah, squishy
yeah,
for the most part. A lot of the times if I'm fighting a Sork or DK that has a ton of AP, I'm not very geared, so I will literally throw on like a Tet Kadri,
yeah,
and it'll drop my AP a ton, but wizard combos are pretty strong, so
I think.
even if they're high DP, you can still one combo a lot of people.
Yeah, unless you're finding someone like Fuzzy, doesn't he
Oh
just
yeah, then you just GG, dude.
yeah, it's crazy evasion DP gear.
Yeah, but definitely something to look out for because I know there's a lot of really good Sorks and DKs, so
Yeah. So
definitely look out for those.
with DKs, there's this one move where they teleport behind you, right?
Yeah, I think it's
And
called Nocturne. I
Nocturne,
think.
and are you able to reliably grab them out of Nocturne when they appear?
No, I don't grab them out of Nocturne.
Okay.
I feel it's just very unsafe.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, right when they Nocturne, they can move like almost instantly. It's not like
Okay.
Sork's. What was Sork's? Uh, Nightmare. Yeah, that was it. Nightmare. Sork's Nightmare is like kind of the DK's equivalent of Nocturne, where they just kind of turn invisible and then appear behind your back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Sork's is way worse because they don't regen stamina in it anymore, and they're CCable when they do it. So DK's is a
Okay.
lot more safe, and that's why I don't really grab.
Yeah, and it's a lot safer throwing rain CC at a Sork than a DK, right?
Yeah,
Because
in
DK has
general,
that really
yeah.
fast stiffness rain CC.
hmm Definitely keep an eye out for if the Sork does their instant Dream of Doom though,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that can
definitely.
hit you.
So,
And also the Sork's fidget spinners that they spawn.
yeah. S-
Sometimes they kind of try to get crafty with those.
So let's talk about the fidget spinners, the mechanics behind those.
Yeah, they'll hit you and then they'll hit you through your frontal. So just super armor whenever you see them
Right.
moving in towards you.
Okay.
They also have zero ping, so they can get kind of fucky. Or sorry,
Nah,
depending
it's
on.
fine. It's fine, dude.
Okay.
It's all right. Yeah. Yeah.
um.
So okay. Let's with DKs. When they have a couple of debuff skills where if you get hit with those DP or evasion debuffs, it just becomes very hard with you to trade with them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think in general, I mean, almost every time I fight a DK with AP, I lose the trade. So
Yeah.
it's again a game of TPing correctly and healing correctly, juking your TP so you can buy yourself just a few more seconds to heal up before they come at you again.
Yeah.
Also, a thing with Sorks and DKs is I do not use the pet CC like almost at all. I'll try to get it off, but for the most part, just because of the nature of their classes, the pet CC doesn't really land often because of the iframes.
Yeah, so classes like Sork, DK, Ranger, even.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Ranger
I
for sure.
I just find like when I try, yeah, I don't know. We can talk about Ranger later, but yeah, a lot of time the pet just de-aggroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I don't really slow them a lot. They have some gaps, like some soup essays that they use, but again, like even I'll try to slow them, but most of the time it misses.
Yeah.
So
So
don't
well,
worry about the slows too much.
slowing them kind of just resets the fight, right? Because it just extends the iframes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Unless you slow them, like if you slow a Sork when they're getting low on stamina, that's really bad for the Sork.
Yeah.
Like really, really bad.
Okay. Right.
I think that covers those two. I don't really have much else to say on
Yep,
those
that's
two.
fine. We can go on to the next class.
All right. I think these are the last two, and it's going to be Ranger, Archer.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that
I mean,
sounds.
do you want to talk about Witch and Wizards?
No,
or-
it's okay. I can
Okay.
talk about those. That's
I
the
think you
only
guys
two
are-
classes I've ever experienced on, man. Fuck.
It's okay. All right, yeah, let's do it. Ranger, Archer. Archers, they're either, if you're not using the bug, you want to use your pet CC.
Okay, let's just talk about archers. Is that they're probably the easiest
this is-
matchup for you, like a wizard,
Yeah,
right?
this is kind of a meme class
Yeah.
for us to fight. It's
I
like the only
mean,
class that mages counter.
and if you're using the frontal guard bug,
Oh my
is a
God.
joke, right?
Yeah, if you frontal guard bug archers, you can just Papega them down, and it's really boring for the mage doing it and for the archer receiving it.
Yeah.
So
And
I'll either try to avoid archers just because I kind of feel bad fighting them, or you could try fighting them without the bug, and it's
I think
just like the tides flip
yeah.
in a way.
I feel like if you're
just goes
fighting an
awful for
archer
you.
without the bug, one of your strongest skills is meteor.
Yeah, definitely meteor, pet CC, and
Yeah.
that's it.
And the thing about archers was the same with rangers, right? They build a lot of KD resistance. Their boots. So
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe if you hit them with a pet stiffen, you might want to go for a freeze, or something like that.
That being said, I have had fun duels with archers. If the archer doesn't kite and if you don't bug, then they're actually kind of pretty fun duels.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just really boring.
Yeah, I remember fighting Osmir. I don't know if you fought Osmir's archer, but
I'm not sure.
yeah, it's fun fighting good archers, and it really teaches you when not to throw unsafe range CC. Like
Yeah, it keeps your eyes like looking at trained on the archer to
Yep.
see what they're doing.
Yep. Okay.
And then as for ranger, in my opinion, if you were the best ranger ever, I think this is the best class in the game in terms of 1v1.
Yeah.
But again, it's a really, really hard class to master. So if you're fighting really terrible rangers, it's super easy. But if you're fighting really good rangers, it is incredibly hard
Yeah.
to kill rangers.
Okay. So what makes rangers one of the best classes 1v1, especially if they're good in the game?
They have really, really good iframes, and they have an iframe CC that I'm not sure how they do it. It's like
Yep.
Some secret intel, and I mean their kit is just super strong in terms of 1v1 if they're playing properly. Not it does have some loopholes, you could say, unless they're literally just spamming iframes waiting for you to do anything and then grabbing you. I you know let me think. It's hard to say what you need to do because I've been experimenting how to fight really good rangers,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of ways to go about it. So
So
a lot of their range stuff isn't protected.
yep.
So
So
keep that
let's
in
talk
mind.
about the unawakened and awakening kit. Yeah.
Yeah. So in their unawakened kit, they have their bow out and they just pew pew you down with a bunch of ranged CCs that aren't protected for them.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of really janky stuff you can do on Ranger. Like they have a thing where they can mouse move their blades and it can get through your frontal, and it's like a
Okay.
knockback. Um, you just really want to be careful. Like you don't want them getting near you, like because they're grab classes.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to use the pet CC if they're iframing a lot,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's really easy to slow them though, because they'll try to chain super armors with their iframes.
Yeah.
But if you
Slight.
slow them, they're just
Yeah.
gonna iframe forever again. So
Exactly. Yeah. I found one of the things is like if you keep your mark, your fire pet between you and the ranger,
mhm.
a lot of its ranged abilities of the ranger basically hits your pet.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And
the pet's pretty nice in that matchup. You can definitely get pet CCs off, but it's it's like 1 in 1,000 sometimes,
yeah.
feels like, depending if they're iframing enough.
And
Um,
yeah, you go. Yep.
I'm just trying to think of how I deal with them, like how I CC them. A lot of the times, like when you CC the ranger, you have to do something really fast and really unexpected.
Okay.
So a lot of like charging a meteor against a good ranger is just going to get you killed. A lot of like if there's this ranger I was fighting, he literally told me every time he saw me meteor, he would just run up to me to force my TP, and then he would run up to me again and just grab me.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
doing stuff like that, you have to keep in mind like long animations that lock you in are kind of a no-no when
What
fighting
do you mean
rangers.
the ranger runs up to you in protection?
Yeah, they can. I mean, they have a bunch of ways to get near you. They have like a weird backflip iframe they can do towards you.
Yep.
They have they have a bunch of different like flippy iframes they can do at you. That I mean, it gets is if they get within grab range of me, I'm TPing. That's the bottom line. So you want to really try to kite and get them to chase and get reckless and get sloppy, and then that's how you win.
Okay. Yep.
Again, very difficult. Definitely up there with one of the harder matchups.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Okay. I think we've gone through all the most of the class matchups you want to go through today.
Yes, I think that is good.
Yep.
Good enough
Okay.
on those.
All right. So we'll go on to the next section here, and we'll talk about the frontal guard bug. And I feel like a lot of people in the BDO community, or most people who are in the Siege Node War or like PvP scene, know about this.
Yeah,
And
so I definitely want to clear up a lot of controversy around this
yep.
because I get a lot of like, you only beat me because you're using the bug, and it's like the bug takes no skill, and I mean to an extent, yeah, it kind of doesn't take any skill, but at the same time, you can. It does take skill. It's an extra step you have to add in your process of PvP, and you can really open up so many things to do that you can do on Wizard that you couldn't before.
Yeah.
Um, so what the frontal guard bug does is you sideways C swap, move forward, and as you're walking up, you start in staff and you C swap to awakening sideways, and it'll give you a frontal block. Um, and then if you cast an unprotected skill, that unprotected skill will get a frontal super armor on it.
Yeah.
And it can chain. However, if you move or cast any protected ability, whether it's a super armor, a frontal guard, S block, teleport, any unprotected ability that you cast will cancel out the bug. So you have to reapply it.
Okay. And you have
Yeah.
to be holding the W key during the entire
You
time.
have to be holding you have to hold W key until you cast until you start casting, then you can let go of W.
Ah, okay.
Because if you hold W after you cast and you start moving again, it's gonna the protection is gonna go away.
Yeah.
Because if you move at all, you basically, when you frontal block, you become a turret basically.
Yep.
Just imagine it's the same wizard that you normally fight, except they're using different skills
Okay.
and they can be CC'd from behind.
Yep. Yep. So the
So
key thing is that they don't have protection at the back, but they have protection at the front. And
Yep.
when they're using the ranged abilities, basically one they have frontal super armor, so basically you can use your slow on them.
yeah, exactly. So you can do a plethora of different skills with it, including
Yeah.
dashes, which is what I love to do. I just love being able to move on wizard. I think movement is just essential to survive in a 1v1, especially as wizard. So
Yeah, because
that's
wizard at its core is a relatively immobile class, apart from like
definitely.
once you use your teleport. Yep.
And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, like, a lot of people, so many people tell me that it's like really OP, that I shouldn't be using it, and I don't really think so. It's, if you compare like a wizard using the frontal guard to a ninja or Kuno or Lon or XOP class, it's just, it doesn't, it's just not as, it's not as strong as those. I just, it doesn't seem that way to me. So that's one reason why I use it. I really like being able to perform on wizard, so that is why I use it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
However, I don't recommend new players to do it. I think that they should first try getting as good as they can without using it.
Yep.
And then once they get to a certain point, I think that you should try it out. Because it opens up so much opportunity for like outplaying your opponents in 1v1s.
Yeah, and also more importantly in large scale, right?
In large scale, yeah. In large scale, I will argue it's pretty nuts, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you can just send a flanker behind them and kill them instantly.
Yep. Yep. But like, say you're positioning yourself on top of like a castle or something.
yeah,
Using
yeah.
that is very
Then you can
very
just,
powerful.
yeah, for sure, and that's why so many siege guilds use it.
Yep. And also it's you get the with the heal, right? Let's talk about the heals.
Yeah, you can. I mean, since a heal is technically an unprotected ability on wizard, you can also use the heals with the bug.
Yep.
But again, especially if they're using like the big healing lighthouse, they're
Yep.
locked there unless they use like a TP or an animation cancel to get out of that animation.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the ultimate way to counterplay, is just pressure the wizard enough to where he doesn't feel safe enough to use the bug, so he just sits in super armor and doesn't move. That's how you'll kill a wizard doing it.
Yep.
If you're another mage and you don't like using the bug, and you're fighting a mage that does use the bug, and you still don't want to use it back against them, best way to win the duel is through teleporting. If you have better teleports, you can beat any mage. Doesn't matter if they're bugging or not.
Yep.
Just get those teleports down. And it's not just like teleporting like right where you want to be to get a grab. It's timing the teleport right, knowing if your opponent's teleport is down, and it's also teleporting in the right spot and getting the right CC off. So
Yeah, because I definitely feel like there's a lot of wizards and witches that know about this bug, but they don't know how to use it properly. I feel you're one of the few wizards that know the full extent of what this does, right?
well, thank you.
And that's why I really wanted to
Yeah.
get your opinion on it. And yeah, so I think we'll just talk about like just the philosophy, like of what you think about this.
So yeah, like I
Like
said, I know there's a lot of
going through,
controversy behind it.
yeah, just going through basically because you've been playing BDO for a long time, right? Like,
Yeah, I've been, well, Not as long as some, but about a little over 3
Yeah,
years.
around 3 years. And basically, you've been trying to play without using the front guard bug in some
Oh yeah.
scenarios. And was it like hard for you to transition between
No,
that?
I mean, before I started using the bug, I had already been playing Wizard for like over 2 years
Yeah,
easily without it. And I mean, while of course it's a bit awkward not using it, it's still manageable and it's still fun sometimes for sure. Um, but if I'm fighting a class that isn't another mage, don't expect me to not use it.
yeah,
I uh I can't see myself fighting a lot of the classes without it now, just because I love the mobility it gives me.
yeah. And that's your personal preference in playstyle.
Correct.
And
Yeah. I think that I mean if you take if you like look at all of the best players for each of their class, and I'm not saying I'm the best wizard by any means. I'm just saying if you take a look at like a lot of the top of the top 1v1ers, they're all just trying to figure out how to break the game without cheating.
yeah.
You have like Zerkers dropping their FPS to like 30. They're capping their frames at 30 so they can like headbutt combo more
Haha, yeah, I heard
efficiently.
about that. Yeah.
You've got like Rangers doing wacky shit with their fingers to iframe forever. I don't know. You get Musas and Mewas that spend thousands of hours perfecting their dragon bite, and I mean, I think that the bug on Wizard is one of hundreds of bugs in BDO, and I don't know, it's really fun, so that's why I use it.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that's
I think
basically it for
yeah,
me.
we covered mostly everything we wanted. So, yeah, thank you very much for your time, Ogma, today.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun.
Yeah,
And thanks
and
for the opportunity.
not a problem, dude. So, okay.
Easy. And off record.